Hello, everyone. I'm Kimbyrleigha. This is Kimbyrleigha Live. Almost didn't go live because I couldn't find my camera. Thanks to my husband. Let me know if my audio is okay because I just put this whole live stream together in about 5 minutes. If it's your first time here, I hope I didn't scare you away, but it's really nice to finally meet you. I do have a true crime channel here on YouTube. We're almost at 500,000 subscribers. And I do have a video podcast with my husband called Dark Livity. There's going to be more videos out on those channels. I just did a premiere today on my main channel. But if you're interested in solved true crime narratives, you might be interested in that. So check it out below. But today I'm here to recap and talk about a current case that is in trial right now. I'm recapping day 2. The day 3 just happened today. I feel like I'm almost at the point where I can catch up on these cases, but I am a mom and I have a little baby that just turned 1. So forgive me that I'm a day behind all the time, but I think that's kind of good because we have a little time to make sure I know everything is right in the case, do a little bit of my own research, bring it to you. But this is the Raul Valle case, the murder of James Thomas, who is known as Jimmy McGrath. So if you haven't watched my recap and summary of this case, you may want to do that. And also, I need to apologize to the camera person in the trial. Remember, we were kind of like poking fun at that person? Well, apparently there's no big screen TV in this courtroom. Wow. They really need to upgrade, but maybe there's not a lot of Connecticut cases that go to live trials the way that this one is. So this poor camera person has to zoom in to a small screen on a laptop. But okay, I'm going to forgive them. Okay, so we forgive you. But I'm also just going to jump right in. Now, before the state called the next witness, the judge wanted to make it very clear to everyone in that courtroom that electronic devices were not permitted at all. It sounded to me, and I'm just assuming, it sounded to me like someone might have been taking some photos in the courtroom. I'm not sure. But since we've already watched the full day of trial, since I've already watched a full day of trial, I want to make sure you understand the context of everything that's going on, what was happening. There was a lot of questions last time, and I wanted to kind of give you the key players, and I'm going to admit right now, there's a lot of names to remember, but it's going to start making a lot more sense, and I'm going to try my best to clarify, answer questions in the comments and in the chat, especially on the replay, so that's what I'm here for. But I'm going to give you a little synopsis of what I figured out by now. There were 2 rival schools involved in this case, Shelton High and St. Joseph's. And it all started at Austin and Maddie Leifer's house at 5 Lazybrook Road, where their parents, Paul and Susanna, were allowing the girls from Maddie's lacrosse team over for a get-together. Now, is it making more sense? Yes. Austin and Maddie, brother and sister, attend St. Joseph's. Austin invited over a few of his friends as well, including the defendant, Raul Valle, who goes by, am I going to get this wrong again? Lido? And then his friends, Jack Snyder and Tyler De Silva, all from St. Joseph's. And at some point, the girls invited 2 boys from Shelton High School, Griffin and Ryan. Now, there's a picture of all of them together that you're going to see later, so this will give you even more context. But that is how the night began. Okay, so just so you know, because last time there was a lot of questions. Griffin actually texted Austin, that's Maddie's brother. They had known each other since they were kids, and he confirmed it was cool that him and Ryan came over. He said it was fine. And then they went over there. Well, people were already in the garage drinking and playing beer pong. I think it was actually the basement. When Griffin and Ryan arrived, they got dropped off by a friend named Tanner. We're going to hear more from him on this day of trial. But only Ryan and Griffin went in. They brought a 12-pack of beer. And when they arrived there, they were confronted by Jack Snyder, who, to give you some context of how this all started, the 2 schools, the 2 groups, they're acquaintances. Many of them play lacrosse and football against one another and have even grown up as kids playing basketball together and whatnot. But they're not friends from the same friend group. However, they know of each other. So let me make sure. Okay, good. I'm just trying to make sure that everything's good because I didn't even look at the comments to see if my audio is working, but please make sure to tell me if it is in the comments. I always get really worried and then I can just cut this out later. So now the state calls Griffin, and I don't know if I'm going to say his last name right. Marcinzik? Oh my gosh. Marcinzik. Thank you, Marcinzik. Okay, this is Griffin, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. I'm trying my best. He's one of the Shelton High School kids that went over to Maddie's and Austin's that night where this all began. Griffin was 16 when the fight occurred, and he was a sophomore at Shelton High. He was involved in football and lacrosse, and he is currently 19. These kids were so young on the stand. It's kind of weird seeing kids this young testify in court. But I mean, I just want to keep saying, like, look at this precious kid, but it's like they're here for a very, very serious matter. So let's not make light of that. But he now works in solar sales, and I'm going to begin playing this clip from when he and Ryan arrived at the basement, or the garage, where they're at the first party or get together. Okay, so that's where we're going to begin. I hope that I gave you a lot more context. I hope you're understanding a little bit more of how things kind of went down, but we're going to hear a lot more, and you're going to understand a lot. I also want to give a little trigger warning. We are going to be seeing a fight in a lot of these clips, so be forewarned, but I will tell you it is very bad footage. This was shot on iPhones in the dark, so don't worry. You're not going to see, anything too graphic or anything, but I just wanted you to know that you will see something. And again, if you're wearing headphones like I am, beware, because some of this is very loud when they start playing the video clips, but I'll try to manage it on my end. Here we go.
Step out of the car, begin walking up the driveway.
Let me stop you there. Did you bring anything with you to Lazy Bro?
Heinz had a 12-rack of beer.
12-pack of beer? What kind of beer was it?
I believe Bud Light.
Okay. And when you got out of the car, you and Heinz, tell us what you and Heinz did after that.
We began to go in. We entered the garage, and then we were encountered by 3 St. Joe's kids asking us basically who we were, basically, which we expected, like, what are we doing here, this and that. We told them Austin had invited us.
Sustained. I'm going to strike what Mr. Heinz said or what the other person stated. So if you took a note on it, please discard it, strike it from your notes. It's not to be considered for evidence in this case, okay?
So without telling us what they said, did you have a conversation with these 3 individuals?
Yes.
And do you know who these 3 individuals were?
At that given time, they were just 3 SJ kids to me.
Do you know who they are now?
Yes.
And who are they?
Tyler Da Silva, Jack Snyder, and Raul Valle.
Okay. And is Raul Valle in court today?
Yes, he is.
And what is he wearing?
Black suit.
And can you point him out for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness identified the defendant in this case?
Court will let the record reflect the witness identified the defendant. You may proceed.
And does the defendant have a nickname?
Yes,
What
Lito.
is his nickname?
Lito.
Lito. So when you and Heinz got to the St. Joe's party, the defendant and his 2 friends confronted you
Yeah.
and Heinz?
Yes.
And without telling us what anybody said, what was that confrontation like?
Between 2 dudes who never see each other, they were in a place where they were comfortable with, not knowing that was a place we were also comfortable with. So they were a little, who are you guys? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah.
Y'all have to say hello to one of my good friends, Brittany. She's in the chat. She has a true crime channel here on YouTube as well. Sorry to interrupt. Also, I just want to interrupt to say one other thing. This is going to be a little bit of a longer clip because he's going to give the most context, and we're not going to be listening to the same what went down, so to speak, from every single witness because it's the same for the most part. Whenever there's something different, I picked out those clips for you so you'll know if there's any discrepancies.
Kind of hostile, not really, but it escalates when one of them grabs Heinz's beer out of his hand. We move outside.
Well, let me stop you there. Before you move outside, does the defendant say anything to you or Heinz when you're confronted by him and Tyler and Jack?
I don't remember specifically.
Okay. And at some point in time, someone takes Heinz's beer?
Yes.
Who takes Heinz's beer?
Jack Snyder.
And when that happens, what's the reaction that, if anything, that Heinz has at that moment?
He's pissed off that someone just grabbed his beer out of his hand. So we move outside afterwards. The 2 of them conclude that they'd fight for the beer back.
Okay. And the 2 of them that you're referring to?
Heinz and Jack Snyder.
Okay. And at some point in time, did they confront each other as if they were going to fight?
Yes.
Were you present and witnessed that
Yes.
happening? And when that happened, what, if anything, can you tell us about where, withdrawn? Based on your recollection, do you know if Tyler Da Silva was present at that moment?
Yes.
And where was he standing at that moment?
So Heinz and Snyder are looking at each other. He's De Silva's to Snyder's left.
So if you're behind and I'm,
De Silva's right there.
so he's over to Jack's left.
Yes.
Okay. Was the defendant present when this was happening?
Yes.
And when do you recall where he was standing before, when Jack and
He was right here to Hines,
behind him to his right?
like peripheral.
Okay. Now, what do you recall about what happened next when you were witnessing this?
They both put their hands up. They're about to begin fighting, and the first punch was thrown, but by Lito from the back, and it hit Hines in this back side of the head, and then Hines instantly takes Snyder to the ground.
So if you're Jack and I'm Ryan, the defendant is here, and he punches Ryan in the face from behind?
Yeah.
So this was the defendant behind the two boys who had agreed to duke it out for the beer because Ryan brought that with him. It was taken away. And then the Jack guy was like, you have to fight me for it in order to get it back. Teenagers, remember, we're dealing with 16 and 17-year-olds. These are not adults, but even adults have done these things. I mean, they are drinking, they are intoxicated. I think the boys said that they had a couple of drinks before they got there. They were dropped off. They did not drive on their own. But you can see where all of this began because the defendant was in back of Ryan and he came around the back and punched him in the side of the face. So he sort of ambushed him from behind.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us, when that happens, what occurs next?
Hines instantly takes him to the ground, and this is like a 30-second thing that from start to finish. And once he gets to the ground, a girl they all knew was like trying to break it up. Lito had a motorcycle helmet on. He had taken it off and struck Hines with it once or twice, hit him in the head.
Now, when the fight starts after the defendant punches Ryan from behind, does anybody else jump in the fight?
Once they get to the ground, Lito hits him with the helmet. So yeah, I guess that's jumping into the fight.
Did Tyler jump into the fight?
The way they fell, I only saw like his upper body. I didn't see any fists, so maybe he kicked, but I'm not here to say this.
So at some point in time, Jack and Ryan are engaged in a fight. And what do you witness the defendant do?
Hit him with the motorcycle helmet.
So he comes over and hits him with the helmet. How does he hit him with the helmet?
Takes it off and strikes him down on it twice, I believe.
Okay. Do you recall what Tyler De Silva was wearing that night?
A powder blue jersey. It was open, like a white shirt on, I think jeans.
And do you recall what the defendant was wearing that night?
Also a powder blue shirt with black, I think, sweatpants.
And do you recall what Jack Snyder was wearing that night?
A red hoodie and black sweatpants.
So the defendant was sort of intervening, like putting himself in this fight. He allegedly took off a motorcycle helmet that he put on at the house. It was not his. Apparently, he took it off and he hit Ryan with it a couple times. And while this fight is happening, Tyler De Silva may have been kicking Ryan while he was on the ground. So it's already 2 against 1. And then it became like 3 or 4 people. And it's eventually Austin's mom, the owner of the house, comes out, tells them to stop. And then Griffin and Hines are told to leave. Now, one of the girls, along with a number of other girls, go with them and drive them to a friend named Natalia's house, where Ryan and Griffin were hanging out before they went over to Austin's. So I know this is a lot. We're not, you don't have to remember everybody's names right now. But while at Natalia's, Griffin gets a call from another friend named Charlie Connery. He's going to talk about that, but I just wanted to give you a heads up what's going to happen.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
It's important for him to be describing what they're wearing because going forward, we are going to see videos and it's going to be important for you to know, and I'm going to reiterate it, so don't worry.
Showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 53 for identification purposes. Do you recognize 53?
Yes.
And what is 53?
A picture of Jack Snyder and the defendant.
And is this, did you take this picture?
No.
Now, is this how you remember what the defendant was wearing on the night in question?
Yes.
And is this a picture accurately reflect what Jack was wearing?
Yes.
Your Honor, unless there's an objection, I would offer it at this moment.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right,
Okay.
court will accept into evidence states 53.
Sorry. That was loud.
Showing you states 53 again, now for the jury's benefit.
So the parents were at this house and they did get charged. We're going to get into that later, but just know that they were charged with providing alcohol to minors, I believe, allegedly. Just, we're not there yet, but there were parents at this house. And this is not where the major fight occurred. This was the one that led to the other fight.
Is that the defendant to the right there?
Yes.
And that's Jack Snyder to the left?
Yes.
And is that the motorcycle helmet that the defendant has on that you saw the defendant use during the fight with Ryan Hines?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so now that you've seen what they were wearing, just kind of take a mental note of it. We're going to go over it again. But like I said, Griffin and Ryan leave. A few girls drive them over to Natalia's house. And while they're there, another friend, Charlie Connery, start talking about what happened to Ryan. And now, at this point, they're all getting ready to go to another party with Shelton High School kids. Oh, hello. That just came on out of nowhere. Sorry about that. So they're getting ready to go to another party. That's the one where everything went down. This is where people from their own school at the second location were going to be meeting up and where the fatal fight occurs. This is at Tyler Rich's house at 43 Laurel Glen Drive, the neighborhood that we watched on the Ring camera footage last video. His parents are not home. So Charlie picks up Ryan and Griffin, and all three of them drive over to the party. But during this time frame, between that first fight and them arriving, there was an old basketball group chat. It already had some students from St. Joseph's, those were the boys that started the fight with Ryan allegedly, and some of the Shelton High kids. They were all in there talking crap in that group with each other. Remember, rival high schools, and the chat becomes hostile. And then a bunch of them are just trash talking one another about the fight and what happened at Austin's house where Ryan was ambushed. When Griffin and Ryan arrive at this new house, there are about 30 to 40 kids there. So let's pick up the story at that point.
It was hostile, argumentative. We were both going back and forth. We were hot. Our boy had been jumped by 3 kids. So we were acting out of emotions, being like boys, just like, talking shit back and forth.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 5. Full exhibit.
Mr. Depp is coming, and he did a really good job today.
Do you recognize State's 5?
Yes.
And what is State's 5?
The Rich's house.
That's Tyler Rich's house?
Yes.
How do you know Tyler Rich?
From the same town. We've always just kind of been around each other since we were younger.
You grew up with him?
Yeah.
Yes.
What time of night would you say you got to Tyler Rich's house?
Probably around 11.
11-ish? Okay. Was it dark out? What was the lighting like?
Well, the sun was down, yeah, so it was nighttime, but the moon was out. It wasn't terribly dark. We were able to see outside.
Okay. Was it pitch black?
No.
And when you got to Tyler Rich's house, was this group chat, this basketball group chat between the Shelton kids and St. Joe's kids, did that continue when you were at Tyler Rich's house?
Yes.
Was everybody that was withdrawn? How many people would you say were at Tyler Rich's house when you and Ryan got to Tyler Rich's house?
Probably around 30, 40.
30, 40 kids?
That's a lot of people. So I don't want to pause. I'm on a really bad one. Okay. So the trash talking is still going on. He's going to identify other guys who were present. And the reason for this is because the defendant was not the only person involved. People asked that last time. He's not the only one charged that night. 3 boys that I read about so far were charged with different offenses, and we're going to get into that. But it's just important to put a face to the following names, so he's going to go ahead and do that.
State 54 is again,
Faison Teal.
and was Faison present at 43 Laurel Glen, Tyler Rich's house on the night of May 14th of 2022?
Yes.
Showing you 55. What's 55 a picture of again?
A picture of Tommy Connery.
And was Tommy Connery present at Tyler Rich's house on May 14th of 2022?
Yes.
Yes, those are wounds on Tommy's legs. We're going to get to that.
He was.
Showing you 56. What is 56 again? Picture of who?
Ryan Hines.
It was Ryan Hines. Is that the same Ryan Hines you mentioned that was with you at Lazy Brook earlier in the night and went with you to Tyler Rich's house?
Yes.
Finally, 57. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who 57 is?
Jimmy McGrath.
It was Jimmy McGrath at 43 Laurel Glen, Tyler Rich's house when you went there that night?
Yes.
So we just realized, or were introduced, I should say, to Faison Teal, who we talked about last time, Tommy Connery, and Ryan Hines. They were all present, and now you saw both Ryan and Tommy's injuries. We will, of course, get into more of those details later. Faison Teal was also injured. And then, of course, there was Jimmy, who lost his life that night. The state also asked him about a number of other kids that were there that he had to identify. Now, I'm not going to get into all of them right now because it's going to confuse you. There's going to be a bunch of names, but at this moment, he was at a place where he knew everyone from his school. Now let's go back to what happened next.
Now, when you got to Tyler Rich's house at around 11 p.m., what kind of, you said there were about 30 kids there?
Yeah.
What kind of things were going on when you got to Tyler Rich's house on May 14th of 2022?
Typical high school things, down in the basement, listening to music. A couple people had drinks.
Did you drink?
Not while I was at the Riches, no.
I'm sorry?
Not while I was at the Riches, no.
You didn't drink at all at Tyler Rich's house?
I could have had a beer.
Okay. Have you drank before?
Yeah, prior.
I couldn't believe, and I don't know what young people do these days. I didn't have a sip of alcohol until I was like, I was 17 when I had a sip. But I mean, full on parties? No, I didn't do that. I mean, I was a little bit of, like a theater kid and stuff. And I really didn't get into a lot of party stuff until I was in college. And even then I went to a Christian college. So no, not really. But I was kind of surprised that 16-year-olds had already been drinking and were comfortable drinking. I'm not judging. I'm just observing and making a comment that I was surprised.
Prior to Lazy Brook.
Okay. How about prior to May 14th of 2022? Have you ever had a beer before?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever been intoxicated before?
Yeah.
On May 14th of 2022, were you intoxicated?
No.
Now, how long would you say you were at Tyler Rich's house while the group chat was going on?
Probably about like 25 minutes.
Okay. And after about 25 minutes, withdrawn. During that 25 minutes, did you say anything in that group chat with regards to 43 Laurel Glen?
Yes. As we were all together going over this group chat, we're talking, they're talking. It was kind of just like I was a collective. A couple people would tell him pull up, so I did.
He was the one that said pull up. Remember, I kept saying pull up, and you guys are probably thinking that I was coming up with that word or phrase. That wasn't me. Griffin admitted this, and of course, he's under oath. He should be admitting to the truth, and they have text messages. But he was issuing challenges. He told the opposing guys to pull up, even sending them the street name.
So you told them to pull up? And when you told them to pull up, how did they know where to get to?
I said the road name.
I'm sorry?
You said the road name.
Okay. And at some point in time, after that 25 minutes, did something happen that you became aware of outside of 43 Laurel Glen?
I'm not sure who, but someone had pointed out that there was a car outside. We kind of all collectively headed out through the back and went outside and saw the car.
We saw this Honda Pilot when it arrived on the Ring camera footage that was across the street. And Griffin's going to admit that he and about 20 other teens came outside and approached that Honda. I'm going to let you listen to what he said happened, but you remember seeing this and how my blood pressure was rising. Yes.
What you observed at that moment?
We had noticed that the car was about where those trees are, equivalent parked right about there.
So if I, for the record's benefit, are you referring to these trees right here?
Yes.
So was the car parked in the middle of the road, side of the road?
It was pulled up onto the side.
On the side of the road, so right about here?
Yeah.
So you're on the record to
Whoa.
reflect there's trees
Sorry
at the
about that.
bottom of stage 49, the bottom right-hand group of trees just after the intersection of Laurel Glen and Adams.
All right, that's noted. Thank you.
So the car was parked there?
Yeah.
When the car was parked there, did you approach the car?
Yeah, we all did.
Okay. And when you say you all did, how many
Something's
people
on
do
my
you think
keyboard.
approached the car, if you know?
Okay, I'm so sorry. This is live. You know, things happen on live. Why is this thing on my face? There we go. I'm so sorry. I was just freaking out. I was like, what's that noise? And I have nothing on my keyboard. So I don't know if there's like a spirit in here. Whew, that scared me. Okay, let's go back.
At least 20.
Okay. And do you recall who was present when you approached the car?
In the car.
In your group? No,
in
in
our
your group.
group. Not specifically.
Okay. Was Tyler Rich present? If you recall.
I don't recall exactly who was outside.
So there was about 20 kids?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you approached the car, was the car facing
It was facing
towards Adams or away from Adams?
away down
Away.
the road.
So if we're looking at approach your arms.
And remember, they don't have a big screen, so we have to use these, what are they called? Visual aids.
This is stage 1. So when the car is parked, it's parked this way, facing towards Farmhouse Road?
Yes.
Okay. And you approached the car?
Yes.
And did you recognize anybody in the car?
Yes.
Who did you recognize in the car?
De Silva, Snyder, and Lito from prior at the Lifers.
So you noticed the defendant was in the car? Jack Snyder and Tyler De Silva? Did you notice if there was anybody else in the car?
I think so, but I'm not sure who.
At that moment, you weren't sure who else was in the car? Now, can you please describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened when your Shelton friends went out to the car?
They start talking, start going back and forth. We're saying stuff to them. They're saying stuff to us.
Was it a civil discussion? Was it argumentative?
Argumentative.
Okay. Did you say anything?
No, I was in the front. I wasn't at any windows.
You were in the front?
Yeah.
What do you mean you were in the front?
Like where I was standing, I was kind of looking through the windshield.
So if if the car is parked here on the right side in stage 49, you were somewhere up here in front of the car?
Yeah.
They should really give the cameraman his own laptop so that he can just zoom right in on it, because this is really difficult. He has to keep going behind people's backs, but don't worry. I think they might get the hang of it soon. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sorry for that.
Now, if this is the car here, are you directly in front of the car? Are you inside of the car?
I'm more towards the passenger side. Yeah.
So you're closer to the curb than you are to the center of the road?
Yeah.
Okay. But still in front of the car?
Yeah.
And how long would you say the interaction went on between your friends and the St. Joe's group?
A few minutes.
Okay. Do you recall who was driving the pilot that night?
Jack Snyder.
So his group of friends, we talked about this last time, and I just say that because I'm telling you something again, but they shook this Honda SUV. And after they did that, the car sped off. We watched that. But then it came looping back multiple times and throwing items out of it, like a WD-40 can, water jugs. And you know what they did? They threw it back. Yikes. Probably not a good idea. And I was thinking, 20 people rocking a car? And that car eventually parked near the intersection of Farmhouse and Laurel Glen. We just heard about that. That's the little graph they're showing right there of that neighborhood. And now someone could have gotten hit with something that they were throwing back and forth, but that didn't happen. But this whole situation's bad. They also didn't have to come there. Sure, they were instigated, they were being challenged to drive over there, but they didn't have to come there. They did on their own free will, looking for a fight. They also allegedly were the ones that started it at Austin's garage. So after taking off, the teens dispersed and Griffin made his way back into that basement at Tyler Rich's house. But then they were prompted to return to the front yard because apparently 2 people exited the car, Lito and Tyler De Silva, and they begin approaching the house. And this interaction quickly became hostile again.
When you stood there, what was the lighting like at that point?
I think there might have been a light on from the driveway, like slightly illuminating. It was dim lit. Moon was out. It wasn't terribly dark. You were able to see.
Did anybody have flashlights on?
Yeah.
Okay. What were they using to illuminate what was going on?
Phone flashlights.
Okay. And when you got outside, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you observed initially when you got to that area.
So when we get outside, the cars pulls up facing towards Adams, kind of like.
Do you know where it's parked in that picture, 52?
It's like the car would be right here. This would be the car.
So can the record reflect that the car is parked in 52 to the right lower area would appear to be the middle of the road?
Carl noted, thank you. Cordell noted, thank you.
So when the car was parked there, tell me what you observed.
Lito and De Silva hop out of the car, start approaching the property. Obviously, there's arguments going back and forth.
How were they approaching the property? Can you recall how they were approaching the property?
They were just or like if I was like how I saw them.
Yeah.
From my view, the one on the right was De Silva. Lito was on the left, so on Tyler's right.
So if I'm standing in that area where you pointed out in 52 between the red bush and what looks like to be the septic cap, we'll call it that. You see Tyler De Silva to your right and Lito to your left, the defendant?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there anybody else with them?
The driver, but they were just alone out of the vehicle.
So these were the same 2 boys that were in the fight at the first house. I just want to make that clear. There's going to be 3 Tylers. This is Tyler De Silva and the defendant, who goes by Lito.
And when you observed Tyler and the defendant get out of the car, how many people from your group were outside?
Majority.
And do you recall if there was, not what people said, but do you recall if there was a verbal interaction between anybody from your group and the defendant and or Tyler De Silva?
Yeah, there was stuff being said back and forth.
What kind of things, not what they said, but what was the manner in which the things were being said?
Argumentative.
Okay. And was your group being argumentative?
Both parties.
So the defendant and Tyler De Silva were being argumentative back?
Yeah.
Did it look like they were trying to be peaceful?
No, but neither did we.
And so can you tell on States 52 where approximately you observed Tyler De Silva was as opposed to where the defendant was?
This would be probably about De Silva. Lito would be about right here.
And when there was an interaction between your group and the defendant and Mr. De Silva, where did that interaction, that verbal interaction take place?
As they were walking up, a little bit on the grass as well.
A little bit on the grass just past the curb area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Leslie asked about the neighbors calling the police. I believe they did, but you're going to see how fast this happened. This is not something that was going on for a while. I would say maybe it was over within 2 to 5 minutes, maybe not even 2 to 5 minutes. It's pretty quick. So you can only imagine, I think they were probably calling afterward, and that's when it already happened. So there really wasn't anything anybody could do at that point.
And who was talking to, not what was said, who was talking to Tyler DeSilva or arguing with Tyler DeSilva at that moment? Do you recall?
Couple of people. Rich was arguing with him. He was also said some words towards both of them. Everyone was kind of talking.
So Tyler Rich was talking to Tyler DeSilva?
At one point, yeah.
Do you recall anybody else from your friend group talking to Tyler DeSilva?
Not specifically.
Do you recall whether or not anybody was withdrawn? How far apart were Tyler DeSilva and the defendant?
They weren't terribly far apart, maybe a couple feet, 5 to 8.
Okay. And do you recall who out of your group of friends was anybody having a discussion or near the defendant at this moment?
Hines was near the area.
Ryan Hines was near the defendant?
My buddy Ty Wood was confronting him.
How do you know Ty Wood?
Known him my whole life. My sister and his brother were friends. We played sports together.
And obviously he was at the party that night as well. Who else, if anybody, do you recall being near the defendant at that moment?
I'm not sure.
So I'm going to just not recap, but kind of get forward with it. So at this point, Tyler Rich and Tyler DeSilva are wrestling, and the defendant and Ty Wood were arguing. So the two boys that came there that were involved in the last fight are now getting involved in another fight on the Shelton High School turf, so to speak. And then as the defendant looked like he was going to swing, Tyler Rich punched him first. And that's how the fight started. And it just became chaotic. And Griffin lost sight of the defendant at that point and of Tyler DeSilva. But after a while, he could tell they were wrestling together with others now joining in. But then something even scarier happened. And this is when the stabbing takes place. So trigger warning, you won't see anything at this point, but you will hear how it's being described. But the first thing the state attorney does is that he asks if Griffin and his friends had any weapons on them. So let's listen. And let me go a little back, actually. I think like right here.
In a fight with?
No.
Okay. And withdrawn. Did you have any weapons on you that night?
No.
Did you see Tyler Rich with any weapons on him that night?
No.
Did you see Ty Wood with any weapons on him that night?
No.
Did you see Ryan Hines with any weapons on him that night?
No.
Did you see Jacob Villalobos with any weapons on him that night?
No.
Did you see Matt Lakovich with any weapons on him that night?
No.
Did you see Sal Perry with any weapons on him that night? How about Mike Sampieri? Did he have any weapons on him that night?
Not to my knowledge.
How about Charlie Connery? Did he have any weapons on him that night? How about Tommy Connery? Did he have any weapons on him that night?
This is important, of course, because why were weapons involved, allegedly, from the people who came there if these kids didn't have weapons? And we're going to hear the arguments, we're going to get there, that there was just so many of them. But still, I feel like you can leave. And there was a chance for the defendant to break away. But instead of leaving, he allegedly grabbed a weapon. I mean, I don't have to say allegedly because we know people were stabbed. Whether it was a knife, that is something the defense is questioning or putting up different theories.
No.
How about Faison Teal? Did you see any weapons on him?
No.
Did you see Jimmy during the fight?
Not during the fight.
Not
No.
during the fight. Do you know if he had any weapons on him?
He did not.
So when the fight's going on, you lose sight of what the defendant's doing and you kind of focus on Tyler Rich and Tyler DeSilva. How long would you say you were, did you move at any point in time from where you were during that fight?
I might have creeped to about where that tree is, maybe right on the cement, just watching.
So you were in that general area?
I stayed in that area mainly.
Do you recall anybody being near you at the time?
Tanner?
Tanner Trinoski was near you?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long would you say that withdrawn? Tell us what you observed about the fight that you did observe.
It was quick. They were on the ground. I remember like they were wrestling, grabbing at each other. I saw like De Silva's whole back out because his shirt was like pulled up a little bit. They were just kind of wrestling, and then it wasn't very long, not a very long interaction. A couple of the dudes pick him up onto his feet, push him out into the street, and tell him to get lost, basically.
Okay. So while this is going on, Tyler De Silva gets pushed out into the road and he's told to leave. But instead, apparently the defendant runs to the car, opens it up, and grabs a knife and comes back. So that's what I want us to listen to next. Let me just fast forward it to about right here.
My buddy Charlie yells that he has a knife.
And when you heard Charlie yell that he has a knife, what, if anything, did you observe next?
I didn't observe, like from that point, it was a crowd of people, and then it broke out in chaos. People started yelling, screaming, and then I had seen Jimmy, and he had these white shorts on. They were stained completely red, and I looked away, and a bunch of people flooded to him to help him.
I just want to go back a little bit to see if you
Scene
said.
of the fight. Was it chaotic?
Yeah,
Okay. A lot of kids?
a lot of kids.
And when the defendant runs back into the fight, what, if anything, did you hear at that
Right.
moment?
My buddy Charlie yells that he has a knife.
So he runs to the car, he comes back, and that's when Charlie yelled, he's got a knife. Just wanted to make sure that was clear. So people are screaming, panic ensued. Griffin saw Jimmy's white shorts covered in blood. We saw a picture of poor Jimmy. He is the one, yes, somebody asked in the comments, he was the fatal wound that night. He was fatally wounded. And he said that Jimmy fell to the ground. He was wearing a blue shirt and white shorts. Now, Griffin admitted he never saw Jimmy get stabbed, only the aftermath. And he did not see a knife, but the injuries were obvious. Multiple victims were identified. And Griffin confirms those injuries.
You claim that the first punch.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I wanted him right here.
And when you heard Charlie yell that he has a knife, what, if anything, did you observe next?
I didn't observe, like from that point, it was a crowd of people, and then it broke out in chaos. People started yelling, screaming, and then I had seen Jimmy, and he had these white shorts on. They were stained completely red, and I looked away, and a bunch of people flooded to him to help him.
States 57. Is that the outfit you recall Jimmy wearing the night of May 14th of 2022 with the white shorts?
Yes.
And when you saw Jimmy, withdraw. When the defendant came back into the fight, did you observe a knife on him at that point?
I still had no eyes. I saw once he ran back from the car, I lost sight of him because of the crowd.
Okay, when you say there were a crowd, were there people in front of you where you were standing between the tree and the in that cement square in States 52?
Not many. Majority was more into the grass, which is where he was. And I was like, that's why I had the view I had of the car and the fight. And once he ran back towards the curb, he was not in my vision anymore.
Do you recall where Jimmy was at this moment? Did you see Jimmy?
I had known he was on the far side of the interaction.
Okay. And when you heard Charlie yell, he's got a knife, you didn't observe the defendant with anything. What did you observe next after you heard that?
It erupted and everyone started screaming. Some people were crying, yelling, freaking out. Once I had noticed Jimmy, I was shocked. I was 16 years old. I didn't know what to do. And then I had noticed Charlie was freaking out because his brother Tommy had been stabbed, and Charlie was like my best friend at the time. So I had taken my hoodie off, gave it to him, was like,
Remember the EMT we heard from last time that said that he wrapped somebody's leg up? That was Tommy. So his thigh had been stabbed multiple times. We're going to get to that. I'm going to go over all the wounds.
On his leg.
Let's stop there. So what did you observe first about Jimmy? You saw Jimmy first?
I noticed the red on his shorts. That was what I noticed.
Did you hear him say anything?
I did not.
Did he do anything? Did you see him do anything?
He fell to the ground.
So you saw red on the shorts and he fell to the ground. When you saw that happen, what did you do next?
I was moving towards him, and then like a couple people instantly grabbed onto him and were catering to him, and then I noticed Tommy interacted with Charlie, gave him my hoodie.
Do you recall where Tommy was at that moment? If you don't, it's
He
okay.
was like in the middle of the yard.
Okay. And did you go up to Tommy?
I did.
And what did you observe about Tommy?
That he had been stabbed in the leg.
Do you recall if he had been stabbed more than once?
Yeah, I believe 3 or 4 times.
And when you saw that he was stabbed, what, if anything, did you do?
I had taken my hoodie off to give it. I gave it to Charlie first to give to, and told him to give it to Tommy.
And
wrap
when,
his leg.
and when that happened, what did you do next?
I ran back inside to look for anything, towels, water. While I was like searching for things, I believe I was with Tanner. We had noticed Hines was sitting, and I was like, "What are you doing, dude?" And he said he was catching his breath, and he was hunched over with his hand on his left side, holding it, and then he moved his hand, and we had noticed that he was bleeding, and we took him out. We were, dude, like, come on, you got to get in the ambulance, you got to go, and then it kind of just all. Once everyone started getting treated, it was all just like a blur.
Where was Ryan stabbed?
He was stabbed once, like right beneath his armpit, and like the lower. I don't even know what this area is. Your lower.
There could have been multiple fatalities that night. They're so lucky that they did not have a fatal stab wound. Jimmy McGrath was stabbed in the chest. Tommy Connery had 3 to 4 stab wounds to his leg. Ryan Hines, the one that was against the wall trying to catch his breath, was stabbed in the side and in his lower back. And then Faison Teal also was stabbed on his arm. This is just, it's scary. It's terrifying. You don't think that's going to happen? Now, all of these people were injured. The EMTs eventually arrived, and then Griffin spoke to the police. And all in all, this was a very violent situation to stab multiple people. Think about that. Because I was thinking, I don't know, other cases come to my mind, and I'm thinking, this is intentional stabbing because you have to go from one person to another person. It's almost unreal to think about how it escalated to the point where not only one person was stabbed, but multiple persons, and then multiple times. And 2 were stabbed in the trunk of their body. I mean, the main part of their bodies, and 1 died. But of course, we're going to see cross-examination happen right now. And there are going to be some questions here because I know we want to believe and hear and understand that, oh, this was so instigated. I understand that part. But you are going to hear about maybe some of the discrepancies, and he's going to have Griffin clarify how much he drank that night, whether he was at another house and then came there. And he's also going to be pressed about possibly drinking even more than he said, but he denied that he drank anything from the 12-pack that was brought. Also, I remember the court sustained an objection regarding speculation, so we're not going to hear about that. But let's jump forward to defense.
You claim that the first punch was thrown by the defendant
Yes.
and that he punched Ryan Hines in the face from behind,
Yes.
correct? And you said that Hines then took Snyder to the ground.
Yes.
Now, you've described and you saw a photograph of Mr. Valle wearing a helmet, correct?
Mhm.
And he was also wearing some sort of a neck pillow. Did you see that?
Outside, I'm not too exactly sure if he had it on still or not. It was a black pillow or a dark colored pillow. It was nighttime. I don't recall exactly if he was wearing the neck pillow.
And that was Austin Life for your friend. That was his father's motorcycle helmet,
I
correct?
believe so, yeah.
And at some point after they began fighting, you said that
Lacey, I thought of that as well. Nikolai, was it called Nikolai? Somebody, I don't remember the name sadly, but that was a crazy case where the man on the river stabbed all those teenagers. Oh my gosh.
Mr. Hines was getting the better of Mr. Snyder, correct?
I'd say he was brought him to the ground. He was on top of him.
And at that point, you said that the defendant tackled Ryan Hines, correct?
No, removed his helmet and struck him.
That's what you told us now. You gave a statement to the police officers on May 15th of 2022, correct?
Yeah,
You went there with your parents at about 2 o'clock down to the PD to give a statement.
sounds about right.
And you told them at that time that the defendant tackled Ryan and punched him, correct?
They might have taken that incorrectly because Hines is the only person that tackled anyone. He took him to the ground. I watched him tackle him, and no
So
one
you-
else went to the ground either.
So you didn't tell them that that the defendant tackled Ryan and punched him?
If they marked me as saying that, then on paper I did, but I recall Hines tackling.
See how the defense has to get these things out. Did you tell the police that the defendant tackled and punched Ryan? And Griffin's like, oh, that must have been an error. But these are the things that sometimes make the defense attorney look like he's weeding out some discrepancies. Did they change their stories? And Griffin said, no, he only believes that Jack Snyder was tackled and was fighting in that moment. I believe, is he referring to the first outbreak of the fight? But he does confirm that the defendant hit Ryan twice with the motorcycle helmet. So that is something he was clear on. And then he said that Tyler De Silva jumped in after the helmet incident.
And you told us here and you told them then that the defendant took off his helmet and swung it at Mr. Hines, correct?
Yeah, he struck him with it.
He took that helmet physically off of his head and swung it and struck Mr. Hines.
Yes, he hit Hines with it.
And then
Yeah, this was the first fight.
Mr. De Silva jumped in afterwards, correct?
Yeah, he didn't contribute much to it, but yeah,
He began punching and kicking Ryan Hines on the ground, correct?
yeah.
That's your recollection. That's what you're certain of today.
Yeah, he wasn't very much so involved. He was the last one to enter in, and by then it got broken up pretty fast.
And you were prevented from helping because this fourth unknown person was holding you back, right?
I wasn't sort of say be held back because we were initially watching because they agreed to fight one-on-one, and that was agreed upon both. They were fine with it. The second they get active, like things happen, and then the girl hops in. I'm off to the side. I had no clue who I was standing with, and we were talking about it. And he was like, "Don't get involved." He was telling me not to because he was like, "Dude, like you're in that. Like there's three of them."
So again, the defense is like, so some unknown person told you not to get involved.
There were adults at this house, you think?
What do you like? Parents?
Yes.
His mom was home. Yeah.
You were aware of that?
I wasn't until she came outside when the fight got broken up.
But so you claim that these two agreed to fight Mr. Snyder and Mr. Hines, and
Yeah.
you decided you were just going to watch the thing.
But they said they were running one-on-one fight. Hines, it's not allowed to be said, but they said they agreed upon ones.
You didn't make any efforts to notify any parents inside the house that this was going on out in their driveway.
I didn't know they were in the driveway or in the house. Sorry.
That was another point that a lot of people brought up. The fact that, yeah, maybe this was the first fight. So just remember, this was the first fight in front of the garage at the other house previously with the 12-pack of beer agreeing that they were going to fight. So just know that part. But again, nobody called for help or anything. They instead just watched it. But as he said, they agreed to fight. They said, we're going to duke it out. And then this is when Ryan was supposedly sucker punched. And that's what kind of started everything because they agreed to fight. They didn't agree for Ryan to be punched from the defendant out of nowhere.
No adults present?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So you told us before that maybe some folks had some beers, they'd brought their own. Now you're telling us that there might have been a beer pong table set up and people might have been playing beer
Yeah,
pong?
by beer pong, I don't specifically mean every single cup is filled with beer because
I just found this funny, so I included it.
we've come to learn that it's a lot easier to fill them with water because then you could just keep playing and play the game.
They've come to learn that putting water in the beer pong cups is better so that they could just play the game.
Okay, so are you telling us that this night there were people playing pong with water?
I'm not telling you specifically. I don't recall, but if 95% of
That's going to be that's a funny line. Does remind me of Johnny Depp for some reason.
The time that is this situation because you get your beer all gross.
And you told us that at some point you became aware that these St. Joe's kids had arrived.
He's now talking about the second fight in the second house where the beer pong was going on. And that's why he said no parent supervision. And he was like, no, I don't think so.
And they were outside, correct? Yeah. How did you become aware of that?
So initially there was a text that said we were here. Someone ran outside, didn't see him. And then someone else was like, there's a car outside. And that's when we all flowed outside.
And you described that car as being parked outside down towards the corner of Adams, correct?
Yeah.
And that car was on the other side of the street, correct?
Yes.
And then you told us that you all collectively headed outside, right?
Yeah.
Was that all 30 or 40 of you?
A few stragglers may have fallen back, but the majority made their way outside.
And who were you standing beside when you headed outside?
I don't recall fully who I walked out with. We kind of just all funneled out, so we just walked outside.
Did you head outside with Tanner Trinoski?
Yeah.
Did you head outside with Ryan Hines?
Yeah, he came out.
Did you head outside with Michael Sampieri?
If Samp went outside, I wasn't specifically saying I'm with any of them. Some of them were outside, yes.
Why did you go outside?
Because I went outside. They're in the group chat. They said they're here. Curiosity. Walk outside. Everyone else was going.
You were just curious about what was going to happen after you told them to come.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Laurel Glen Drive
I'm gonna go
fight.
Confront them. Yeah, I'm gonna go outside. But this was more of like me and Hines were like youngins to everyone there. We looked like we were little kids there. So.
And that's a good point. They were younger. There were some older kids there. Not all of them were minors. Some of them were over 18. And you hear that someone got ambushed and they're two younger kids and they go to your school and they're part of your lacrosse team and your football team and whatnot. I understand why he asked them to pull up and he's interested, like, oh, they're going to get what they deserve and all that. I mean, this is typical. We don't really have to think outside the box to understand what's happening here. Not that it's right. They were asking for a challenge and Griffin went outside because he wanted to see those kids get in trouble, so to speak, get beat up for what they did to his best friend, right?
They were kind of taking control. It was more like people, they were all known. The defendants and his friends have known some of the people that were at the Rich's house.
Okay.
That was another question. Y'all asked, like, did they know each other? Clearly they knew of each other. They weren't in the same friend groups. Also, remember, the defense is going to be making those points over and over again. What did it look like out there? Was it hard to see? How many people were there?
And then when everybody gets outside, you told us about them going up to the Honda Pilot, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you said that at this point they all surrounded the Honda Pilot, right?
Yeah.
And they were touching the Honda Pilot, right?
I'm looking from the front. I don't know if they eventually did, but when they began rocking it, yes.
Began rocking the car?
Yeah.
You were shown a picture of the Honda Pilot, correct?
Yes, we were.
You were shown this picture. Is that the Honda Pilot that you recall seeing?
Yes, it is.
You gotta rotate it. That looks like the Honda Pilot that you saw.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten any confirmation. Sorry, I was about to swallow. We haven't gotten any confirmation whether that damage to the windshield was caused this night. I feel like they keep bringing it up, so it must have been, but that doesn't mean that. That could be the defense trying to put that out there. We don't know when the damage happened.
Just a moment, Mr. Marcinzik. I'm trying to get an exhibit.
My brain asked the weirdest questions. I'm like, I wonder how long his hair is when it's not in the ponytail. So unrelated, but that's my mind.
I'm going to show you exhibit number 31, close up of that Honda Pilot.
There's the damage.
You agree that's the same vehicle?
Yeah.
And when that vehicle arrived and you first saw it, it didn't have that shattered windshield, did it?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure.
I didn't see anyone specifically make that happen. So I don't know if they arrived with it or left with it.
Okay. How did you come out when you got to the car when you went outside?
That's not important how he came out. He came out through the side door. We don't need to know all of that part. But I think it is interesting because this probably did happen that night. Because I don't think the defense attorney would be bringing this up again and again and again if it didn't. And that's a really good point. Because if someone messes with your car and broke your car windshield, I'm not saying it's right, but it could give you more of a reason to confront them. We don't know what was said. So how do we know he wasn't like, you just broke my windshield, you're going to pay for that? I'm just giving a perspective. I'm not saying that that's what happened, and I'm not condoning what happened next, but it just gives you more of an insight as to why maybe the kids didn't leave. But let's talk about what happened. And this is where the distance came. Remember the distance? I was like, I wonder why the distance is going to be important. Well, apparently some of the Shelton kids went down and kind of chased after the Honda. And that's why the distance is important, because he's going to say that he saw something from afar.
And that at some point they drove off down towards Farmhouse Lane, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And would you agree that that is about 2 football fields away from where the Rich House is?
Yeah, it's a good distance.
And you claim that you saw only 2 of your friends walk down towards Farmhouse Lane, right?
I don't know what is going on with the quality. Don't know.
I just knew 2 specifically. There could have been more. I know that Ricky and Tyler went and encountered him.
Do you know that because they told you that, or
No,
because you saw that?
They were the ones that actually had discussed that they were going to go down and talk to them. So once they started going, I came back and I don't know if anyone else trailed after them.
Did you see them go down to Farmhouse Lane?
Yeah, I saw them. I walked inside, but I watched them head towards Lido. Yes.
Those, you think only those 2 people were the ones that walked down there?
No, I just know that those 2 people. I don't know specifically who else.
And you told us you didn't hear anything go on down there?
No,
at
I went
Farmhouse
back
Lane?
inside.
You went back inside. You remember that?
Yes.
Who else went back inside with you?
Majority of people.
Alex Burnson?
I'm not sure. At that time, I just kind of met Burns. I wasn't really looking out for him.
Did Enrico Fiola go back inside with you?
No,
Did Sal Perry go back inside with you?
I'm not sure.
Did Mike Samperi go back inside with you?
I'm not sure.
Did Tanner Trinoski go back inside with you?
I'm not sure.
He's not sure, okay?
Did Jacob Villalobos go back inside with you?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of us. You're naming 6 of the 40 kids. I don't know where everyone's exact whereabouts were at every given moment. I apologize.
No apology necessary.
Okay. So Cuff said the defense is reaching. Could be, but I think he also has to make a point. And, he's only given so much to work with. So I think he's doing a pretty good job, especially because he is going to bring up some other points and challenge one of the witnesses pretty well at the very end. So I think that's good. And just to point out, his hair is kind of in a loop in the back. So it's in a loop and it's coming out the other side. So I would guess it's below his shoulders. Why it matters, I don't know. We're probably going to get made fun of in other chats, but that's what I see.
When you spoke with officers before, though, you didn't mention anything to them about friends going down to Farmhouse Lane, did you?
Well, I was in a panic and just explained what I had actually did, the big things.
That's important. So he's like, you didn't tell police that your friends basically chased after these guys. You didn't tell them that.
It didn't
So
come
you
down
didn't
to
tell them
details.
about that, correct?
I don't remember exactly what I told them. That was 3 years ago.
You told them that everybody went back inside and only one person remained outside to see if the St. Joe's kids were going to come back, right?
No, I didn't specifically say that. I just know that somebody, I don't know how many people, but majority had funneled in and someone had mentioned that they were back.
And that one kid just stayed outside to see if the St. Joe's kids were going to come back, right?
So he's making a good point. He's like, no, it's not that one of you stayed outside to see if they were going to come back. It's that they came back because y'all messed up their car, ran after them. They came back to kind of confront y'all. That's what happened. That's what he's kind of putting out there.
Yeah, someone actually was outside. I don't remember who it was. And they were looking, but it wasn't like.
Well, did one kid stay outside or did 2 kids go down to Farmhouse Lane?
Those are 2 separate events. They went down and spoke to them. Then when they were down at the I don't know anything that happened in that conversation, what they saw, what they said, anything about it. But I watched them walk down the road towards them. And then at separate times, we all funneled back inside. Someone was outside still. I don't know if they were looking for them, but someone was still outside. And then they had mentioned that they had came back.
Who was that?
It was someone just yelled like they're back, and everyone was like, "What?" And all funneled out the back doors.
No one can really identify yet who supposedly stayed outside and yelled, "They're back." So I think the defense is making a good point, and he's getting a little flustered here, the witness. Wouldn't you recall who stayed outside and yelled, "They're back"? He knew everyone so well throughout this entire description of everything that went on. But let's keep going because we're going to get to the text messages that Griffin sent.
And in fact, you continued texting throughout this time period, didn't you?
I think the texting died down a lot once they had fully arrived. There was a couple texts sent. Yeah.
There were a couple of texts sent, or you sent texts, Mr. Marcinsic?
Well, multiple people sent texts. I included, yes.
You sent texts,
Yeah,
correct?
I sent texts. They sent texts. Multiple people sent texts.
In fact, you snapped a photo.
I am going to have to apologize. There is going to be a derogatory statement made here. It's what somebody allegedly texted. There's going to be a derogatory statement made sometime in this video of what somebody texted. I don't know exactly when it's coming up. If I can remember, I will let you know beforehand.
Photograph of Mr. Snyder's car sitting outside and texted that with a caption on it, taunting them, didn't you?
Yeah.
This was after they had shown up and driven away, correct?
No, that's as they just showed up. I took that picture first thing.
Oh, so you took that picture before you went outside?
No, I took that picture outside when they had arrived.
And you said, sitting ducks, ODE, very scared, right?
Yes.
Sitting ducks, very scared.
And then you asked, how's your car, pussy? Full. That's crazy, right?
So the car had to have been damaged, right? Because he's like, how's your car, P-word? So Griffin is talking a lot of smack, but then he's kind of just laying back and letting things unfold and letting his like older friends take control of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after you'd gotten out?
It's after they had driven up and down, I believe.
That's after they'd driven up and down the
driven
street.
up.
You're continuing to text them at that point, right?
I believe so.
Are you still feeling pressure to do that from other people?
I never felt any pressure in the first place to be texting them.
Oh, okay. You didn't feel pressure before when you sent the LGD 43 LGD address?
No, there wasn't pressure to do that. It was dudes being dudes talking.
Just dudes talking?
I mean, yeah, we were expecting to fight, not any of this.
You were expecting to fight?
Once we had told them to come, yeah, I don't think we're gonna have them come, and like there'd be no point of having them come. Yeah.
So he was expecting a fight, which he admitted, but no one intended this outcome. But it did happen. But on the other hand, no one had a weapon except allegedly the defendant.
Did you say 43 Laurel Glen Drive, 30 to 40 dudes here?
I don't exactly recall, but if I did, then yeah.
If he did say that, if he did say 30 or 40 dudes here, I would feel like that would deter the other group, but they came anyway.
Okay. You didn't mention those texts, however, when you were talking with the police, right?
I don't recall. I don't think so. I don't know that it wasn't asked. Once I was asked about them, I told them about them, yeah.
Oh, once you were asked about them, you told them that they
Okay,
existed, but before that, you didn't think that was important to share with them?
Not really. It was argumentative. It's a lot of just hearsay nonsense back and forth between the two of us. Yes, I told them where to go, but that doesn't invite anything that happened on that night.
Mr. Marcinsic, you didn't tell the cops about that because you thought it might get you in trouble, didn't you?
I don't know exactly what my thoughts were when I was 16. I could have been scared. I'm not sure.
You didn't think maybe you'd get in trouble for luring somebody over and then getting into a fight?
I mean, you said it yourself. I said the address with how many people. I wouldn't necessarily call that luring. They knew what they were getting themselves into.
That was a good point. I mean, he's battling the defense attorney. He's like, yeah, I said it. I said it. Told him to come here for a fight. Told him how many people were here. But now let's get into the fight dynamics. I might have to just speed this up just a tiny bit. Don't worry, not a lot.
When you spoke with officers before, though, you didn't mention anything to them about friends going down to Farmhouse Lane, did you?
Oh, wait, we already got there. Hold on. Just kidding.
Or specifics, or like I'm sure he caught a shot or two from somebody else, but like it was mainly like I remember seeing him on the ground. Rich had his shirt pulled up. Silva's whole back was out. I remember seeing it. Rich was on the ground. Silva was on top of him, but Rich kind of had him in like a chokehold kind of thing, but like not really. Like just like holding him down so he couldn't like get on top of him.
And you had such a good view of that because somebody was using their phone to live stream that, and the flashlight was on, wasn't it?
There was flashlights on, yeah.
And somebody was live streaming that whole thing, weren't they?
Live streaming?
Yes, sir.
I don't think anybody was live streaming this.
You don't think anybody was
I
live
have
streaming
no
this?
I have no knowledge of anyone live streaming this
You think
event.
somebody just pulled out their phone and turned on the flashlight and was holding it up to show the fight going on?
Are you confusing a video for a live stream? Because a
He's like, sir, you're a little bit confused.
live stream is lively streamed, and a video is not live streamed. It's do you understand what I'm saying?
I appreciate the distinction, sir. I'm not confused.
So you are asking about a live stream? No, I don't. To my knowledge, no one recorded a live stream. No.
Not to your knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I've never heard once of a live stream.
But you would agree that somebody had their phone out, it was open, and at least it had the flashlight on, correct?
Yeah.
And that was shining on Mr. De Silva and the fight that was going on there, correct?
Yes.
You saw that.
Yes.
You were close to that.
Yeah.
This was important. The defense is making a really good point. He's pointing out that even though something this intense was going on, people were more interested in live streaming or recording than interested in calling 911. And I mean, he's got a point. There are even memes about that, right? About how someone isn't going to help you anymore. They're just going to take out their phone and they're going to start recording you so that it can go viral. Now, he also asked about getting his friends in trouble. Remember that? He probably was trying to stick up for his friends because his friends went to bat for him, right? They were there because they were kind of trying to get revenge for Ryan. I mean, Griffin didn't even get hurt. He was doing a lot of talk. And that's what the defense attorney is pointing out.
Fight aspect.
Would you agree that all of the Shelton High kids were friends of yours?
I mean, yeah, they've all known each other.
You don't want to see any of them get in trouble, do you?
No, but they necessarily couldn't really get in any trouble at this point in time, so I wouldn't be doing them a favor.
Okay. You continued to text even after the fight had ended, correct?
I believe I had sent some texts once because my phone was being nonstop lit up with calls, and I pulled out my phone to look at them, and I had noticed a text from them first. So I responded. I think I remember what they were as well.
Oh, what were they?
The final text was I received a text that said, "Let me know how surgery goes," and I responded out of childness. I was like, "Bro, look at your face. You'll probably never get a girl." Not really knowing the severity, just throwing.
I want to rewind that real quick because I want to slow it down.
You also engaged in doing an identification of folks that were Mr.
Yes.
All right, hold
You
on.
also identified another person as having been involved, correct?
Oops, I went back too far. I just wanted to repeat that one section.
Who was involved?
I would, yes, with the fight aspect.
Would you agree that all of the Shelton
Yeah, we already heard
High
that.
kids
Hold
were
on.
friends of them get in trouble, do you?
Well, at this point in time.
It ended, correct?
Here we go. Sorry about that.
I believe I had sent some texts once because my phone was being nonstop lit up with calls, and I pulled out my phone to look at them, and I had noticed a text from them first. So
So he noticed the text from them first.
I responded. I think I remember what they were as well.
Oh, what were they?
The final text was I received a text that said, "Let me know how surgery goes," and
So somebody that was in that group chat said, "Let me know how the surgery goes." Wow.
I responded out of childness. I was like, bro, look at your face. You'll probably never get a girl. Not really knowing the severity, just
Look at your face. You'll probably never get a girl. But he said he didn't know the severity of what had happened. Did he, though? Didn't he say he saw Jimmy's pants full of blood and his friends stabbed?
throwing something, but that's why I responded, because I read that text.
You responded to Mr. Snyder, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder said something about surgery, correct?
Yes.
And you responded something about look at your face?
Yeah. I didn't know whose number that was, so I just it was a random number to me, so assumed it was maybe one of the people fighting, since he's sitting, like, I don't know. I didn't know who it was at the time.
Yeah, it's bad. I think it's bad decisions all around. And then we're going to get redirect here. And the state is going to ask and also clarify Jimmy's role. Jimmy, the one who lost his life.
He was.
And I think the description that you gave on cross-examination is Jimmy wouldn't just hop into the fight.
Like, there'd have to be a reason. Like, those characteristics are true about him, yes, but that's because he's a great friend. He was a great kid. And he wouldn't just jump into a fight because it's free pickings, if that makes sense. Like, if he could just get a couple punches and no. Like,
So in other words, what you're saying is if someone was in a fight and there was it looked like it was a fair fight, he wouldn't just jump in and throw a few punches.
Sustained.
So with regards to Jimmy, was he a violent individual?
No.
How would you describe Jimmy's demeanor?
He was a funny kid, always looking to make a joke to cheer people up. He was had an amazing character. Like, he's one of one. I don't know many people who were like Jimmy. Yeah, he knew how to fight, but he wasn't like he was looking for a fight.
And based on your recollection of what happened that night, do you recall seeing Jimmy involved with Tyler Da Silva in a
No,
fight? Do you recall seeing Jimmy involved with the defendant in a fight?
I didn't see Jimmy really at all outside. He was just in the crowd.
Was he involved? When you say he was in the crowd, where was he?
He was on the farther side where Lito would have been.
It's sad. And what I think the point is here is that Jimmy wasn't involved. I mean, I haven't heard the whole story yet, but from what it looks like, he was on the fringe of what was happening. Yes, he was jumping in to help, but I don't think he was directly one of the people that were like swinging and things like that. I think he was more or less trying to intervene, trying to make sure that people weren't getting severely hurt, and then he ends up getting severely and fatally injured. It's very sad. Now, we are going to hear from a new witness. I'm going to refresh because my computer's doing something weird. It was not giving good quality video. But this is Isabella Rose Molnar, I think. And she's a former classmate of Griffin and the other Shelton High kids. Not only was she present that night, but she took videos. That is why she will be important, because they have to get those videos into evidence. So she has to identify that was what she took that night. She is currently 20 years old. She's a student at Lehigh University. She's studying business and marketing. She was 17 and a junior. Oh, actually, she was from St. Joe's High School. Pardon me. She was from St. Joe's, not Shelton. She was from St. Joe's, and she was at the first party. We're going to be talking about the first fight and the first video we're going to be seeing. So I apologize. I get these mixed up. I mean, I'm not perfect. But she does confirm that she knows Jack Snyder, she knows Tyler Da Silva, and she knows the defendant, Lito, as his classmates call him. She's also going to be identifying him in court, and she explains that she was invited to that lacrosse party because she was a teammate of Maddie Leifer, and it began as an all-girls lacrosse team gathering with a few guy friends coming along after, and the party started with about only 15 people there, mostly girls, like I said, from the lacrosse team. And then there were also a few guys from St. Joe's as well. We already know all that. I'm just going to jump in to the information we haven't established yet. Kimber, what? So let's go to that part now.
And at some point in time, did other people show up to the party?
Yes.
Who showed up to the party?
Other people that went to our school, other friends of Maddie, and yeah, other kids just started showing up. I don't know exactly who
Okay.
was. Yeah.
At some point in time, did the defendant show up to the party?
Yes.
Did Jack Snyder show up to the party?
Yes.
Did Tyler DeSilva show up to the party?
Yes.
Were they invited to the party?
Objection, Your Honor.
Hold on, just don't answer that basis.
It's going to call for hearsay, opinion, and facts not in evidence.
If she knows.
All right, well, why don't we preface it with laying the right foundation then? So I will go ahead and sustain the objection.
Do you recall who was invited to the party
Initially.
Objection,
initially?
Your Honor. It calls for the same thing.
It does. I'll sustain the objection.
I'm playing this part because I thought it was interesting to see a young person who's not familiar with the court process and what this judge did, and I thought it was really well done.
Counsel, you may rephrase your question.
So with regards to this party,
hmm
what was your understanding about who was attending the party?
I know my lacrosse team was invited, and I know that she maybe had invited some other kids from our school. But
And when you say other kids meaning like who? What kind of kids were invited?
friends
Objection,
of
Your Honor, if she knows.
Maddie Leifer
I'll
from
allow
high
it
school.
overruled. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I know that you don't know this.
Yeah.
If there's an objection pending, I'm just going to ask you to wait until I make a ruling until you continue speaking, okay? But you're okay. I
Okay,
know
sorry.
you've not done this before as far as I know.
Yeah.
So just let me ask you to do that for me, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I think she handled that very respectfully. I think this judge is really good. She seems fair, in my opinion. But I think what was happening here that they couldn't get in was who was invited and who wasn't invited. Who invited the defendant and his friends? Because it was Maddie's lacrosse team party. And then a couple guys came. And then a couple more guys came. And that's when the fight broke out. So I think that's what was important there. But she recorded a portion of this fight. So that's what's important. So let's get to that.
There was a fight that broke out outside.
And do you know who was involved in that fight?
I know that Jack, Tyler, and Lito were involved in it, and kids outside of St. Joe's. I don't know who those kids are, but
And what do you remember seeing about that fight?
it was outside, and they were just fighting.
And when you saw that fight, did you do anything just prior to witnessing that fight?
I started videoing the fight.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 58 for identification. Do you recognize 58?
Yes.
And what is State's 58?
The video that I took.
That's the video she took. We're not going to go through, him putting it into evidence. I think I jumped forward. Here we go. If you can't hear, try refreshing. YouTube's being weird tonight. Trigger warning. We are going to be showing the fight. Like I said, not great quality. This is the first fight of the night, not the second fight. This is fight number 1. And we're catching it kind of in the middle. We're not seeing how it was instigated, but here it goes.
Now that first video, was that the original video you took of the fight that occurred at Lazy Brook Road?
Yeah.
I know that was fast. This was the first fight. It was quick. Remember, they're going to play it again and they're going to lighten it up.
Yes.
And you can always, if you're on mobile, you're going to love this. If you're on mobile and you don't know this is going to be great. You can pinch the screen if you have an iPhone. I don't know about other ones. And you can pull the video forward and you can zoom in. So I'll just give you a second to do that if you want to. You can zoom right in, pull this up, and you can see it better. As the cameraman or woman gets their bearings straight.
Was that the lightened up version, the same video?
Yes.
Lightened up version, same video. I know it's hard to tell what is going on here. Are they going to do it in slow motion? Are they going to do it one more time in slow motion, or am I going to have to do that? Hold on. I think they're going to do it one more time. Okay, this is slow motion. So I thought it would be good for me, since I've watched this like 5 times, for me to kind of walk it through with you, walk you through it, and let you know everybody, because I know what they're wearing now and I can kind of tell you. Right there in the red sweatshirt, that is Jack Snyder. He's the one that allegedly took the beer from Ryan, and they agreed to fight over it. So that's this fight that's going on. And Ryan is in the green sweatshirt. Jack is in the red hoodie. Okay, so you can see the person in red. He's kind of blocking Ryan from us right now, so we're not going to be able to see him. And you can kind of see Ryan's throwing a punch right now. Ryan swings at Jack. It looks like Jack puts up his arm and blocks it, and he pushes Ryan back. And then they're going at it again, right? Ryan's putting his fists up. Jack is in front of him. They're squaring off. And they just sped it up for some reason, but they're both punching each other. They're going to fall down. And if you look closely right here, the person that's right in front to the left, and we're seeing like a blue type of shirt and light colored pants, and they're standing nearby the fight, that is Tyler De Silva. And if you look straight right now, that is the helmet being worn by the defendant. He's coming up as Tyler's now getting involved. Now he's coming up from behind, and you're going to see him do something. They're out of view, but they're going to come back. I had to watch this so many times. Do you see the motorcycle helmet on the right? Okay, I need to just back this up 1 second. Tyler De Silva is standing to the right, and right behind him to the side is the defendant wearing the motorcycle helmet, and you were going to actually hear him headbutting Ryan Hines, and watch him. So his head's coming down. I just paused it where his head's kind of in the middle. There it comes down. And right when this video is about to end, you can see it come down a second time. Twice. And we're going to hear someone testify to that, but I could actually see it in that video. I heard about it, but I could see it. It's kind of hard to watch when you hear what's happening there.
Can you go to frame 90?
We're watching it again.
You see the slow motion version has frames on the bottom. Okay? We're at frame 90 on State's Exhibit 58, the slow motion version. I'm going to ask you. Can I have this one? Can you tell me? Do you know who this individual is right here to the left?
Tyler.
Tyler De Silva.
Yes.
Do you know who this individual is here in the center with the dark
Are you
pants
able-
and the helmet?
Camera person, it would be nice to see what we're talking
Are you
about.
able to see the pointing?
Can't see the pointing, Your Honor, but I can see the video and I'm fairly clear who it is he's pointing.
Yes,
Who
that's
is that?
Lito.
That's Lito,
Mhm.
the defense.
Since they're not even showing it, I'm going to move forward right now. If YouTube's being weird, refresh. I don't know why it's kind of making my video kind of weird tonight, but she said that after this fight, she went home immediately. Now she's going to be crossed. I think she did a good job. I don't think she's there to offer too much other than this video, right?
And you said,
I'm going to refresh it. Hold on. It's like giving a bad quality video for some reason. YouTube, what are you doing? It's not me. I'm plugged in.
and you said most of the people there were drinking, right?
As I remember, yes.
And all of those people that were drinking were all underage. Is that correct?
I would assume so, yes.
Because you didn't see any adults there. Is that correct?
No.
And this home where you were partying,
Mhm.
the party part took place downstairs in the basement?
Mhm.
And again, you didn't see any adults down there. Is that correct?
No.
And you told us that some folks were bringing alcohol with them, correct?
Bringing alcohol. I think maybe some people, I'm not sure where people had alcohol or where they got it from, but people were drinking.
Somebody asked in the comments if there was a knife here. No weapons at this one. If you do consider a motorcycle helmet a weapon. But you can now see what started all this. This is the fight that started everything. They felt that Ryan was ambushed. They started telling their friends and them started coming up with a plan to move to the second house.
Did you see anybody coming down from upstairs in the home with alcohol?
With alcohol. I know people were using the bathroom upstairs. So some people were going upstairs and then coming back down.
Did you see any adults providing alcohol?
I didn't see any adults providing alcohol.
That was important, right? First of all, we know that one of his biggest points that he tries to make is that all of these kids were intoxicated. But we're hearing that the parents were not providing alcohol, but I already told you that they were charged with something in relation to this. Again, this is the first fight. Remember that. She wasn't at the second fight.
And you didn't know if Mr. De Silva was coming over to try and break it up or if he was part of the fight, right?
No, it all just kind of happened really fast and yeah.
And at some point they sort of collapsed onto the ground on the other side of a vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't see what was going on at that point, could you?
I think it looks at one point like Lito or somebody smacks someone with their fist, but I couldn't really see much other than the video.
And you saw Mr. Valle was wearing a motorcycle helmet, correct?
Yes.
And you saw him in the picture there. He also had on a pillow, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And they were playing some form of beer pong downstairs. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
And there was no fighting going on in the basement. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
None of the kids down there were fighting or making threats towards one another before
No.
the Shelton High kids showed up.
Not that I remember.
And in fact, Mr. Valle, you thought wearing the neck pillow and the helmet was trying to be funny.
Objection is to, withdrawn.
You can answer. Thank you.
I don't know why. I'm not sure why he was wearing it.
You told officers when they interviewed you that you thought he was trying to be funny, correct?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
So Cuff said, I swear it looked like the helmet came off. Somebody does testify, and I think it's the next witness, that he actually took the helmet off and like beat him twice with it. To me, it looks like he's headbutting him because it looks like he's just coming down from that position. I can't be sure. I mean, it's so grainy. We are going to hear from our next witness, though, because there was nothing else after that. She just told the police that she thought maybe he was trying to be funny by putting on the helmet. This happened before the fight, so it wasn't as though he was anticipating it, is what the defense attorney was saying. Like, he wasn't anticipating a fight, prior to this, because this is the first fight. And she said, no, I don't know. I just thought he was trying to be funny by wearing it, because he was wearing like a neck pillow that you wear on a flight. We've only got 2 more witnesses. The next one is Emily Robinson. She was the girl that we saw today and also the last time we were here on camera actually stepping in and trying to break up this first fight. So she probably got a really good look of exactly what was going on. And this will be pretty quick testimony. And then we have one last witness, but that one is going to be a little more intense. Emily is now 20. She's a marketing major at, I think she said, Bentley University, and she has a summer internship in sports management. She also attended St. Joseph's High School. She was a junior in 2022. Emily played girls soccer and lacrosse, and she recalled that on May 14th of 2022, she was at a team gathering. The party was hosted at Maddie Leifer's house, 5 Lazy Brook Road. This is the first fight. She's going to tell you what happened. She was there. She stepped in. She arrived around 5 p.m. and she said initially there were only about 20 people there. But as the evening progressed, the party grew in size and included other St. Joseph students and 2 boys from Shelton High School. We know who that is, right? That is Ryan Hines and Griffin. And also we're hearing from the other attorney for the state, and this is Tatiana Messina.
When you were at the party, did something occur between the St. Joe's 3 individuals that you just indicated, as well as the Shelton High School students?
Yes,
And what happened?
there was a fight.
Okay. And were you present when that fight took place?
Yes,
And when you say present, how close to the fight were you?
I was very close. I was trying to break it up.
Okay. Before we proceed, I am going to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 53. May I approach the clerk, Your Honor?
Yes, thank you.
I feel like I can skip.
Do you recognize the individual in this photograph?
Yes,
And who are those individuals?
Jack Snyder in the red and Lido in the blue.
And looking at state 53, do you remember Lido, as you just indicated, wearing that helmet as well as the pillow around his neck?
Yes,
Okay. And from your recollection from that night at the party, do you recall if the defendant showed up wearing this helmet and the pillow, or did he retrieve it at the party?
he got it at the party.
Do you recall whose helmet that is that he's wearing?
I do not know exactly.
Okay. And when the fight broke out that you observed, do you recall if the defendant was wearing that helmet during the fight?
He was.
Okay. Now, directing your attention back to the party that night, what was happening at the party? Was there drinking going on? Were there games being played? Explain.
Yes, there was drinking going on, and there was some games being played like beer pong and other drinking games.
Okay. What type of alcohol was being consumed, if you recall?
Mostly beer and some alcoholic like seltzers.
Had you been drinking?
Yes,
How many alcoholic beverages had you consumed?
I don't remember.
Were you, had you been drinking to the point where you were drunk, not able to stand, or?
No, I was, no.
Okay. And you indicated you had driven to the party that night?
Yes,
Now, did you observe Lido or Raul drinking that night?
yes,
And looking at state 53, do you see the blue liquid that the defendant is holding in his hand there?
yes.
Do you recall what that is?
I
Do you know what that is?
I was like, is that blue liquid or is that just the bottle? But maybe it's blue liquid.
Now, the individuals that arrived from Shelton High School, as you indicated, do you know the names of those individuals?
I did not at the time, but I did later learn that it was Griffin and Ryan.
Okay. And when you say later on, did you have interactions with them?
Yes, after the fight, one of my friends drove them away.
And is that when you learned their names?
Yes, yeah, in the car.
Now, when, as you indicated, Ryan and Griffin arrived at 5 Lazy Brook, if you can recall, or if you observed, how did the defendant, Jack, and Tyler Da Silva react?
They did not want them there.
Okay, and how do you know that? What were they doing, without going into what they were saying, how were they observed?
Trying to kick them out.
Okay, would you say it was a bit of a hostile interaction?
Yeah,
Now, at some point, you indicated a fight broke out. Do you recall what that fight was over?
it was over like a little case of beer.
Okay, and when you say it was over a little case of beer, explain.
The Lido and like the others had taken it from them and wanted them to leave. And Ryan wanted the beer back and then he would leave. But so that's why they fought over the alcohol.
Okay, were you standing there when, were you observing this? You were observing the beer being taken and then Ryan wanting that beer back?
Yes.
Okay, and to your knowledge,
So now we have a little bit more context. We already knew that that happened from other witnesses, but now we're kind of hearing more about it. That Jack Snyder had taken the 12-pack. Ryan wanted it back. They said, you need to leave. They didn't want them there. I could think about reasons they didn't want them there. It was all these girls. You know, we're going to see a picture later. The girls look like they want the 2 guys from Shelton High School to be there. It was their party. I don't know. I'm just assuming from what I've heard so far, making an educated guess here. guys are mad at each other, jealous, they don't want each other there. But at least she's giving more context about why the fight started.
Did the boys from St. Joe's give the beer back to Ryan at that point?
No.
Okay. And because the beer was not given back, what occurred?
That's when the fight broke out.
And when you say a fight broke out, you indicated you observed the fight. To your recollection, explain what you observed when the fight happened.
I saw Lido punch Ryan from behind, and then that's when everyone started fighting.
Okay. And when you say everyone, who else was fighting?
Jack, Tyler, and Lido.
Now, obviously from Stage 53, you can see here, you indicated Jack is wearing the red sweatshirt, Lido is wearing the blue shirt. What was Tyler wearing that night, if you can recall?
A light blue jersey.
Now, you had said that you were saying certain things during the fight when it was going on.
Yes.
What were you saying?
Trying to break it up.
Okay. And were you successful in breaking up the fight?
No, not really.
In addition to, as you said, you observed Lido hit someone in the back of the head.
Yes.
Did you observe the defendant doing anything else during that fight?
Near the end of the fight, he headbutted Ryan, who was on the ground with the helmet on.
So you hear her say that. She got a really good look. She was there. She said the defendant kept on the motorcycle helmet and headbutted Ryan with it while Ryan was on the ground. That's what I saw in that video too. Now we're going to watch a video. She's going to identify people, which I think is good because it's always good to have somebody showing you like I was.
Can you see in your screen there?
Yes.
Okay. If you can point out who was in the red sweatshirt there.
That was Jack Snyder.
Okay. And over to the left-hand side of Jack there in the blue jersey, who was that?
That was Tyler.
And over to the right-hand side of Jack in the greenish colored.
Camera person. She's describing the photo and we don't get to see it on the screen.
Sweatshirt, who is that?
That was Ryan.
Okay. And do you see yourself anywhere in this video at this point?
I'm on like the far right. I don't think you can really see me yet.
Okay. You can just back it up.
Thank you, camera person. There she is. She's brave.
See yourself here?
Yeah, I'm in the white shirt.
Okay. And so towards the back side of the video?
Yes, not the far right, but just over.
Second to the
from
right.
on the far right.
If we can play that normally. So, Emily, you saw yourself walking towards the fight. Is that you
Yes,
in State 58? What are you doing at that point?
I'm trying to break it up, like push people away.
What did you do to break it up? What did you physically do?
I was trying to like push like people with like my hands.
So you had hands on people?
Yes.
Okay. Were you successful in getting anyone off anyone at all?
No.
Brave. And after the fight, she said that she left in a Jeep that was driven by her friend Izzy instead of her own car. She also testified that Ryan Hines had visible injuries, including a bloody nose and a bloody mouth. And a photo was taken. Hope I got this. Yep, it's right here. A photo was taken. And this is of all the girls with Ryan and Griffin at the end when they were now leaving.
Emily, do you recognize these individuals in this photograph?
Yes,
Okay. And this individual right here, who's that?
that's me.
Okay. And the individual back here, who's this?
That's Ryan.
Okay. And the individual back here, who's that?
That's Griffin.
Okay. And the person who drove the Jeep, Izzy, where is she in this photograph?
The far left.
Far left. So over here?
Even more like near the bottom left of the picture.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And how soon after you took this photograph did you leave the party?
I believe right away, but I
She left. She had no additional recollections about the fight beyond what she just testified to. And now, of course, the defense is going to bring up the drinking right away.
Described yourself as being in the bottom right-hand corner, correct?
yes.
And in your hand, is this one of those hard seltzers you described?
Yes.
Is that also seen in your hand when you are trying to break up the fight?
Yes.
And who is this person that is directly behind you wearing the green shirt and putting her tongue out?
Maeve.
Maeve?
Yes.
Does she go to St. Joseph? Where
Yes.
she did that?
Yes.
And you said behind Maeve is Ryan Hines, correct?
Yes.
And who is directly to Ryan Hines's right wearing a blue hat?
Casey.
Casey. Is that also a St. Joe's, or was that a St. Joe's?
Yes.
And Casey, is she holding a beer?
Yes.
To me, this is why I said I think the girls wanted, Ryan and Griffin there. The other guys were like, get out of here, leave. These girls are from our school. You guys are from a rival high school. I could see that happening. I'm just making an educated guess. But clearly at the end, when Ryan has already been hurt, he's bloody, his nose is bleeding, his mouth is bleeding, these girls take them home from the rival school. They're from St. Joseph's. But of course, you know how he points out, like, is she drinking? And you're drinking, and you didn't even put down your seltzer to help them out. It was kind of, I don't know if this was a great argument.
And behind Casey, is that Griffin Marcinzik?
Yes.
Did you know Griffin Marcinzik prior to this?
No.
Did you know Ryan Hines prior to this?
No.
And right beside Casey, in a white top with longer hair, who is that?
Katie.
And directly in front of Katie and Casey, making a face of some sort, who is that?
Grace.
Grace, also St. Joe's
Yes.
at that time? And then this person directly beside her, you described that as being the driver, correct?
Yes.
I don't know what, like, I don't know why he had to point out all these people, but saying they're from St. Joseph's. We're going to hear more.
But there was lights from the garage.
Was it as light as it appears in the video that's been lightened?
I do not remember.
To your recollection, which of those more accurately reflects what you recall? The lightened video or the darker video?
I would say the light.
The lightened video is more
Yes.
what you recall.
Yeah.
Remember,
When did
he's going to bring up how dark it was, and he just did.
you first learn about the video that Ms. Molnar took?
I do not remember.
Did she show it to you?
No.
Who showed it to you?
I think it was on on a story on my phone.
Was on a story on your phone?
Yes.
Can you educate me a little bit? When you say on a story, what do you mean?
Like Snapchat. Like someone posted it on their story on Snapchat.
All right, I'm going to show my age yet again. On your Snapchat, you posted a story. Can you describe for me what that is if I'm somebody who doesn't know?
Someone else had taken a video and posted it so that other people who they have chosen could see it.
Do you remember who that was?
I would believe it's Bella, but I can't remember.
So Bella posted that video on her story on her Instagram,
On Snapchat. I believe it was Bella.
Snapchat.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Snapchat, is that the app that allows you to message, but the messages disappear?
Yes.
So how were you able to view this on her Snapchat?
She
Oh, no. Are we going to get a lesson in Snapchat?
she posted it so that other people could see it, and then you can watch it for like a certain amount of time. It's like 24 hours, and then it goes away.
And how soon after the fight do you recall her posting that?
I do not recall.
Same day?
I believe so, but I don't remember.
So you had seen this video prior to speaking with officers on May 26th.
Yes,
Did you tell them about the existence of the video?
I do not remember.
So Griffin wasn't the only one not saying that there was things that existed. She didn't say that things existed. I think you might be really scared to be interviewed by police in a situation where somebody died. I don't know. And I mean, eventually these things came out. But could it look like you're withholding it? Sure. But she went to the same school as the defendant. This was somebody in their same high school. So usually it would be like, oh, you were from the rival school. You didn't tell them that the video existed. But I truly don't think this witness in particular was probably trying to hide anything. And now we're going to get to our last witness. And that is going to be someone we've briefly talked about. But I'm not going to reiterate everything we've already heard because this will be so long and it's already almost going to 2 hours. This was a lot of information. But this is Tanner. Trinoski, I think his last name is. He's 21. He's not in school right now. He works in Shelton. He graduated from Shelton High School, and it was in 2021. So he was older than most of the kids that were there that night on May 14th of 2022. Now, he was at the second party. He was also the person who dropped off Griffin and Ryan to the first party. And he didn't go in the first party, but he returned home, got a call from his brother, heard about another party happening, but he later hears from Ryan about the incident, that he was struck, and he said that Ryan sounded he was in distress, but he couldn't tell the jury what Ryan told him, only that an incident had allegedly occurred and he was too intoxicated to drive. So Tanner asked another friend for a ride over to Tyler Rich's house. And that is where the second fight broke out. And there are 3 Tylers. Tyler Rich's house is the one on Laurel Glen Drive. Tanner's also going to say that Faison Teal was there, Tommy and Charlie Connery, who are brothers, Ryan Hines, Jimmy McGrath, Ricky Fiola, who's going to come into play in the next day of testimony, Sal Perry, who else was there? Mike Sampier, Jacob, Matt, and some others. I don't think you need to know all their names yet, but let's listen.
Show your State's Exhibit 54. You recognize State's 54?
Yes.
Who is that person?
It's Faison.
Faison Teal?
Yes.
How do you know Faison Teal?
We grew up together.
Good point. Someone in the chat just mentioned, I think he's trying to insinuate there are more videos, maybe more on Snapchat that were deleted and not handed over. Seems to be part of the theme. Good catch.
Going to the Boys and Girls Club.
Do you recall whether or not Faison Teal was at Tyler Rich's house on May 14th of 2022?
Yes.
Showing you State's Exhibit 55.
Oh,
Do you recognize 55?
Yes.
And who is that in the picture?
It's Thomas Connery.
Sorry. Tommy Connery?
Yep.
How do you know Tommy Connery?
We grew up together as well. We were on the same sports teams in the same grade growing up.
Do you know whether or not Tommy Connery was at Tyler Rich's house on May 14th,
speed
2022?
this up just a
Yes, he
little bit.
was.
Showing you State's 56. You recognize 56?
Yes.
And who is this picture of 56?
Ryan Hines.
And you just indicated Ryan Hines was at Tyler Rich's house?
Yes.
You went there to meet him.
Yes.
Finally, State's 57. You recognize State's 57?
Yes.
And who is that a picture of?
It's Jimmy McGrath.
And how do you know Jimmy McGrath?
We have a lot of mutual friends.
And was he present at Tyler Rich's house that night?
Yes.
I don't know if the state is trying to show these over and over again because we can clearly see injuries on them, or if it's important because we're going to be seeing a video and he needs to identify them. But we are about to see videos of the second fight. So I think that's why this is happening. He's trying to get out of the way that all these people were there. Now, he said there were about 20 to 30 people, and then things just escalated. He entered the house briefly through the side cellar door. He said he didn't see that much drinking inside. Then he returned outside when he heard someone yelling that they were there, that the guys were there. And then a dark Honda Pilot arrived. Tanner said he was with Ryan Hines, Griffin, and Tyler Rich when the car pulled up. So let's listen to that because that's important.
Third Honda Pilot.
Okay. And when the Honda Pilot arrived at Tyler Rich's house, did you walk out and see who it was?
Yes.
Okay. Who was with you when you did that?
I do not recall exactly, but Griffin Marcinzik, Ryan Hines, and Tyler Rich were next to me.
And can you tell us on this exhibit here, State's Exhibit 50, when the car arrived at the house, did it park?
It was stopped in the middle of the street.
In the middle of the street where? Towards the can you tell us on this exhibit, Exhibit 50?
Yeah, relatively right in front of the mailbox in the middle of the road.
Okay. And when you encountered the pilot, how many people were outside the house at this point in time?
I do not recall exactly.
And Was there a number of kids, number of
Yes.
Shelton kids, your friends?
Yes.
And did you all approach the car?
Yes.
And what, if anything, can you tell us happened when you guys approached the car?
We approached the car and there was a little bit of arguing with us outside of the car and individuals inside of the car.
Did you notice anybody in the car that was familiar to you?
Not at the time, no.
Could you tell us how many people you saw in the car?
About 4 or 5.
Okay. And at some point in time, during this arguing back and forth, what, if anything, happened during that interaction?
There was arguing back and forth, and then it was what appeared to be a glass bottle thrown out of the car
And what side of the car was it thrown?
towards the house, so the driver's side.
So I'm going to show you State Exhibit 30. Is this the car that you saw that night?
Yes.
And when the car arrived on Laurel Glen, was it facing towards farmhouse or towards Adams?
When it arrived, it was facing towards farmhouse.
And you said somebody threw a bottle out of the car?
Yes.
Okay. And was it a glass bottle or was it a plastic bottle?
It was a glass bottle.
And when the bottle was thrown, did that come from the driver's side, the rear passenger side, or from the opposite side of the vehicle?
It
If you
was
can
the
recall.
driver's side.
And
I think that's going to be important because we don't know who was driving. Well, we know supposedly Jack was driving. He was the one that was initially fighting with Ryan at the other house. Now a bottle's being thrown. I don't know yet where everyone was sitting, but I think that's going to become important.
when the bottle was thrown, what, if anything, happened next between the individuals in the car and your friends?
There was arguing and they sped off.
At some point in time, do you recall whether or not anybody else threw things from the car or anybody from your friends threw things at the car?
I do not recall.
When the car sped off, what did you do next?
I was walking back towards the cellar doors in the backyard because Tyler said for everybody to get back inside.
So he was being told by the person who lives there, everybody get back inside, probably because now there is a commotion happening. It's his house. His parents aren't there. He's telling everyone to go back in. Now, when he comes back out, Tanner says he starts taking a Snapchat video. And this is going to be pretty intense. Let me see if I have, yeah, it's right here. Oh, I forgot to tell you it's going to blow your eardrums out. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry. Careful, it's going to be loud.
Yes, sir!
I am so sorry. I meant to tell you that it was going to be very, very loud. Let's watch that one more time.
Yes, sir!
That's pretty intense. Scary. And yes, he's yelling, "Yes, sir!" That is Tanner. Chaos. Chaos. Now, Tanner saw Jimmy McGrath lying in the grass after this, after the fight ended. But let's see if there's just a little bit more here.
Yes, it was.
I'm so sorry, Odamaris. I meant to tell you before, and I forgot. There's going to be another one.
Yes, sir!
Is that the lighten up version?
Wow. I mean, that is intense. Every time I watch it, I see something different. Every time I watch it, I see more. Every single time I watch it, I see more. But remember when we were told that Tyler De Silva, who was in the car with the defendant, and Jack Snyder, the three of them were there, he just got pushed into the road and someone's like, "Leave." I can hear that. I can hear that. I don't know if you can. We'll replay it one more time. You ready? I don't know if they're gonna slow it down. So I want to see if I could. I mean, there's just so many people.
Yes, sir!
It's so many people. You can see that right there that we're looking at, somebody coming out, that looks like the defendant, but I'm not going to make that call. But it looks like someone coming out of the Honda there. Okay, this is Tyler De Silva being pushed down into the road. Get out of here. That's what they yelled. Wow. So after this, after what just transpired and you saw, Tanner said he returned inside. And that is where he saw Ryan slouched against the wall, breathing heavily with a wound to his ribs. So Tanner actually had to help Ryan to an ambulance and call his mother. That's going to happen again. We already saw this part. Oh, wait, he's playing in slow motion. Now we're seeing slow motion. This is good. He's going to be able to identify some of these people in a minute. And I'm trying to remember if I remember any of them either. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff going on. People are being hit over the head. Okay, I do want to point out to the right, this is Jimmy wearing the white shorts and the navy shirt. Doesn't even look like he's really participating in anything at the moment. But if you look carefully, it looks like the defendant is crossing paths back into the yard behind Tyler De Silva. You see behind Tyler, if I'm not mistaken, that person in blue looks like the defendant coming back. I don't know. And there's Jimmy right here on the edge of the yard. Oh, and it looks like he's backing up in that moment. Look at that. See that? Look at Jimmy to the left. Looks like he just backed up. And the defendant, if that was him, he was right there in the edge of the grass. I didn't see that the first time. That's scary. That's really scary. Now, this video, when he spoke to the police that night, he gave this video to the officers. And he spoke to them again the next day. And Tanner said he had no weapons. None of his friends had any weapons. And he didn't even see anyone get stabbed. He also didn't recall if the Honda had any damage to the windshield. Now, on cross-examination, we only have three or four more clips. Things are going to get a little spicy. And, I mean, I can see why. He was yelling. He was sort of instigating, in my opinion. But let's listen.
In fact, you were moving around to some extent, were you not?
Yes, sir.
And you told us that you heard screaming, correct?
Wait, Jake, I didn't hear that part. Jake said it's so creepy to hear he has a knife and then it cuts off right afterwards. I didn't hear that part. Wait, it's raining, by the way. If you're asking what those things are, that is rain. Should I go back? No, I'm not going to go back. I'm going to listen later, Jake, because that's really creepy.
I do not recall.
You don't recall whether or not you told us that you'd heard screaming?
The only screaming that I recall hearing is that they're back.
That's all you recall hearing is they're back.
Yes.
You just watched the video, right?
Yes, sir.
And you heard somebody say, "Yes, sir," right?
Yes, sir.
Was that you?
Yes, sir.
So it wasn't just that people were screaming that you heard. You were screaming, "Yes, sir."
Yes, sir.
What did that mean, "Yes, sir"?
I do not recall exactly. It was in the heat of the moment.
I could make an educated guess. I mean, he sees 30 or 40 of his buddies fighting guys that he knows hurt one of his friends. And he's like, "Yes, sir, you're getting your butt kicked over here." You know, that's what I'm assuming. He doesn't know why. I'm pretty sure if he racks his brain, he can think of why, because that's probably the most obvious answer. But he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember.
Well, what were you watching when you said, "Yes, sir"?
I was watching an altercation on the grass.
You were watching Alex Burnson, shirtless, throwing blows at Tyler DeSilva while he was on the ground with his shirt pulled up over his head hockey style, right?
Upon watching the video, I saw that. Yes, sir.
So that yes, sir, was celebratory. Would you agree?
I would not say celebratory.
You weren't answering a question, were you?
Excuse me. Rephrase, please.
Nobody had said to you, "Are you having a good time this evening, Mr. Trinoski?" Did they?
No, sir.
You weren't answering a question, were you?
No, sir.
You were celebrating. You were saying, "Yes, sir."
I do not recall celebrating, but yes, those were my words.
What do you think? I always like to ask everyone that's in chat, what would you assume that yes, sir, really loud means? I could be wrong. You could have a totally different perspective, and that's why we're the 13th juror, right? We're all going to have a different perspective on it.
Okay. Did you also hear somebody say, "Get some, nigger"?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I
That was the really bad word that came out.
Watching the video, yes, sir.
Was that you as well?
No, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
How are you sure?
That is not my voice. That was another individual.
I did not hear that on the video originally, so I'm sure if I go back, we might hear that, but I wasn't looking for it.
Whose voice was it?
I do not recall exactly.
Was that also just the heat of the moment?
It was not me, so I'm not too sure.
Didn't bother you though, did it?
No, it did not.
Now, you told us that you heard screaming, "Out of here, just leave," but you didn't tell us about the yes, sir, and you didn't tell us about the racial epithet until right now, right?
No, sir.
And in fact, you didn't tell officers about this video until the third time that you spoken to them, correct?
I do not recall exactly which time.
All I'm going to say is yikes. I don't think he was enjoying what was going on, but they're teens being teens. But you know what? It's a good thing it was recorded, right? Because I think I remember him asking something about, did you enjoy it?
You identified for us in State's Exhibit 61, Ricky Fiola, right?
Yes, sir.
He had a phone in his hand as well, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
And he had the flashlight on at least, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he was also live streaming this, wasn't he?
I do not recall if he was live streaming. I just recall seeing a light.
I'm guessing somebody must have live streamed it because I don't think he would be bringing it up. I think you'd be able to do enough research by now to know whether somebody was live streaming or not. But here we go. This is going to be the part about, I think, whether he was enjoying it. When did he tell the officers?
You told officers when you spoke with them before you gave them the video that to the best of your knowledge, this entire incident was completely random, right?
Yes, sir.
But it wasn't completely random, was it?
I do not recall.
You don't recall what?
What are you referring to when you say it was not completely random?
Well, what were you referring to when you said the entire incident was completely random?
I was made aware of an incident that happened prior, but other than that, of the individuals making their way to our Shelton House party, that was random to my knowledge.
Making their way to which party?
To Tyler Rich's house.
That was completely random.
To my prior knowledge, it was random of them showing up there, yes.
We know it wasn't. It wasn't random. They didn't just drive by and then get into a fight. We know there were things going on and things being said in that chat. Whether he knew, I don't know, though.
To your knowledge, the defendant, Jack Snyder, and Tyler DeSilva showed up at 43 Laurel Glen Drive completely randomly.
To my knowledge, up to that point, it was completely random for them to have shown up there.
You told these officers that you saw the defendant lying on the ground after getting punched and there was a stampede. Did you not?
I do not recall.
You don't recall telling that to Officer Iannotti when you spoke to him on May 20th?
I do not recall.
When they said Iannotti, I was like, wait, Iannetti? I'm still in the Karen Reed. We're going to still talk about Karen Reed. It was weird kind of stopping this to talk about that, but that name got me thinking.
Did you see the defendant lying on the ground after getting punched and then there was a stampede and Mr. Hines was pushed and landed on Mr. Valle?
I do not recall exactly seeing that.
Well, you did describe to us that it was a chaotic scene, right?
Yes, sir.
What was chaotic about it?
It was very chaotic with a fight. There was a lot of yelling and there was people outside. It was just a chaotic scene to follow.
There was only 2 of these kids from St. Joe's there, correct?
Yes, sir.
On the grass, correct?
On the grass, yes, sir.
There were at least 20 Shelton High kids there in the lawn, correct?
I do not recall exactly how many, but there was a large group of Shelton kids outside, yes.
Do you dispute that there was at least 20?
I do not recall exactly how many, but there was a larger group.
You wouldn't dispute that there was 30, would you?
I do not recall exactly how many were out there.
No matter how many were out there, and I understand the defense's point, but in my perspective, I'm like, right, but they could leave at any time. When Tyler De Silva gets pushed out into the road and we see the defendant, allegedly, it looks like him, or wherever the defendant was, he definitely went back and got something, right? He's saying it was in self-defense. That's kind of the argument. Not that it didn't happen, but that he had reasons to. Because remember, he asked every EMT, he asked every expert last trial day. You can't say why the defendant did what he did that night. No. So he did what he did, but he could have left. Instead, you're going toward the situation when your buddy is pushed out into the road. So essentially, the fight's over. He got pushed out into the road. He could leave now, get back in the car. Y'all have a car. You're not trapped there. You're not kidnapped. You're not being held against your will. So I understand where the defense is going with this, but I just can't find a way where this is justified. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I like to challenge in the chat.
You wouldn't dispute that there was 40, would you?
I do not recall exactly how many people were out there.
Would you agree that the 2 St. Joe's kids were vastly outnumbered?
Of people fighting, there was not many people in the actual fight. There was a lot of bystanders around.
That's a good point. What's interesting is these witnesses, though they're young, they do have a pretty good comebacks. I mean, I don't know if I could think on my feet like that and say like, well, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, there were a lot of people there, but most of them were, like you said, just recording and not getting involved. So were they really outnumbered if only, I don't know, 5 people are in there and there's 2 of them? Still outnumbered, but I don't know if it's severely.
How many people would you say were fighting in that video that you recorded?
To the best of my knowledge, exactly, I'd say a few, not too many.
A few,
Yes, sir.
like those seltzers, 2 or 3?
Oh my gosh, because he said he had 2 or 3 seltzers earlier.
Upon watching the video, I could see there was a fight in the grass and there was a punch thrown from behind from Alex Bernstein. That was it.
You didn't see anyone actually get stabbed, correct?
No, sir.
And the reason that you didn't initially share that video that you made on the night of is because you were afraid you might get in trouble, right?
I do not recall why I did not give it over.
You knew that that video showed your friends engaged in some assaultive behavior, correct?
Yes, sir.
You didn't want your friends to get in trouble, did you?
I obviously did not want them to get in trouble, but I do not recall if that was a reason I did not give it over.
Well, you say you obviously did not want them to get in trouble. What's so obvious about that?
Well, nobody ever wants their friends to get in trouble, but that would not be the reason that I would not hand the video over.
But you didn't hand the video over immediately, did you?
No, sir.
You had it on the night of the 14th, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had it on the 15th, correct?
Yes, sir.
You talked with Officer Bitsko and Officer Staples, correct?
I do not recall Officer Bitsko, who that is, but Officer Staples, yes, I know.
At the Shelton PD, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you went back again on the 20th, and that's when you talked with Officer Iannotti, correct?
I do not recall that officer's name, but I did end up going back. Yes, sir.
And that's when you gave him the video, right?
I do not recall exactly which time I gave them the video.
Did you share that video with anybody else?
No, sir, I did not.
Didn't post it on some social media?
So that night, the video was on a private story and then deleted as soon as everything calmed down.
Let's talk about that. The video was on a private story.
Yes, sir.
It just got there on its own.
No, I posted it on a private story, and that's when I put my phone back into my pocket.
You posted that video that night on your private story.
Yes, sir.
How many people had access to it?
I do not recall.
All your friends?
I do not recall exactly how many people have access to it.
Do you let all of your friends have access to your private stories?
I do not recall exactly how many. Some of my friends are in it, some are not.
When you posted it to your private stories,
Yes, sir.
you didn't give it to the police, did you?
No, sir. It was posted the night of and deleted almost immediately.
Because you were afraid you might get in trouble, right?
I deleted the video upon realizing exactly, what had happened that night. But no, not about getting in trouble. Once I realized what had happened and what had occurred, and we came to the realization that obviously there was injured and Jimmy was severely wounded, the video was taken down. Right after.
Well, you knew that Jimmy was severely wounded that night, did you not?
Yes, sir.
But you posted it that night, right?
I posted it. There's a button on Snapchat.
Okay, so I just want to address this because I saw that Lois is talking about, saying it's self-defense and this and that. Yes, but I understand where you're coming from, but this person had a weapon. The 30 or 40 kids, yes, could have gone back inside, but someone came with a weapon. And I think that's not self-defense because you're not, hey, I haven't heard the whole trial, but up to what I'm hearing now, they could retreat at any point. They did not need to bring a knife after everything was already kind of winding down, your friends being pushed in the road. You don't have to come back and do anything. It's over. You could walk away. Yes, the 30 kids could walk away, but none of them went and got inside and got a weapon and came back to make matters worse. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah, sure, it could have gone both ways, but it didn't. Somebody got a weapon and came back. Somebody that wasn't even in the vicinity, but at a car, at a vehicle. So it shows they could have left because they did leave. They removed themselves from the situation and then came back into the situation. So usually self-defense is in the moment when you personally feel like your safety. Sorry, I'm thinking. When you feel like you're in danger of severe bodily harm or death. Now, defense of another is a thing, but his friend was not being fought. His friend was already on the road. So he can't really claim defense of another because he is not being fought at that point. Those were the only two people from the other school that were involved in the fight and on the opposing side. So defense of another doesn't work because how can you think your friend's in severe bodily harm or injury when he's on the road and you're standing there watching all the kids from the other school and you're coming back toward them with a weapon? So yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I would argue no. I would argue at this point, I don't see it as self-defense, but I think it's a valid argument for the defense because they don't have a lot to work with. So what are they going to claim? That's the only defense I could think of right now.
Where if you just click it once, it automatically posts. There's no second verification needed or anything. So upon clicking that button, it was posted to my story instantly. And then I put my phone back in my pocket.
You posted that video that night, right?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't just posted on its own.
No, sir.
You did that
Yes, sir.
rather than give that to the police.
I did not have a meeting with the police. I forgot about the video immediately when it was on my story that night upon first responders getting there and everything. And then I remembered about the video. I do not recall exactly when. It was in the next few hours to a friend of mine saying that the video was on my story.
You posted that video that night shortly after we heard you say, yes, sir, right?
I mean, there's no doubt about it. These kids were getting big egos. They were posting things. They thought it was cool, I'm sure, until they realized it wasn't, right? I think we've all made mistakes and done something we regret when we realize, oh my gosh, somebody died. They're teenagers. They're always posting things. They think things are funny and interesting. And some of the things my daughter thinks is funny, I'm like, this isn't even funny. It's a totally different generation, totally different perspective on what is right and wrong in some ways. And none of this is right. I can agree with that. But Lois, by the way, thank you for hanging, because I'm sure you were like, oh no, she's beating me. You know, I don't mean that. I'm just trying to give perspectives. And when I see something, I'm like, I might have to stand corrected. I might have to, if I hear something else happen that we don't know yet. How do we know? We don't. But I just, at this point, I'm just seeing it as, and we can't get into the head of the defendant unless he testifies, right? But I'm seeing it as feeling defeated, going there, thinking they're going to fight, because they did go there to fight. We know that. Being under the influence, having an ego, wanting to one-up them, and who knows what happened. When you have alcohol involved.
Yes, sir.
And that was before you realized how seriously Mr. McGrath was injured. Was that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
You posted that video because that was a trophy. You wanted people to see what had happened because you didn't know yet how serious it was. That's the truth, isn't it?
No, sir.
So Gina said, I can see how it could be self-defense. Well, yes, here's how it could be self-defense, because this is good. I like this. We're talking. This is why we're here. This is why I do lives. So let's say that Tyler Da Silva, let me just call him Tyler. Let's say Tyler and Lito, or Raul, the defendant, Tyler and the defendant, they're friends. They're from the opposing school. They come there to fight. Why did you come there? So now I'm already like questioning it, but this is how it could turn into self-defense. You came there, y'all are fighting, but then your friend, or you, but let's say it's his friend, defense of others, his friend is getting severely beaten to the point where one after the other, he's getting all these blows to his head. He could die. If he decided in that moment that he thought his friend was going to die, and the only way to save his friend was to go get a weapon because there were 30 against 1, yes. But as you can see, they're making sure to point out that Tyler, his friend, was already in the road. He had been pushed into the road. He is now free to leave. There's nobody holding him down. There's nobody continuously punching him and over again, and his life is not in danger. He can leave. There's a car there that he can get back into. He can shut the door. He can hide. He can run. He could call police. He has a lot of options at his disposal at this point. So that's why I don't see it as self-defense. Because it can't be self-defense of Raul, because he wasn't on the grass. He left. So that shows you could leave. You could get yourself out of the situation. You're not trapped. Nobody's holding you down. So is it right what happened? No. The fights aren't right. Luring people there aren't right. Or telling people to come fight you is not right. But it escalates the situation and brings it to a totally different level when someone gets a weapon. Because all of those kids, sure, they could together, cumulatively, could be a deadly weapon. I mean, one person's fist can be a deadly weapon, right? If it's over and over and over and over again, you can't get up. Severe. But I think in this instance, it doesn't fit squarely into self-defense, but we're going to hear it, right? I could be wrong, but so far I don't see it.
I posted the video. I do not recall exactly why I posted the video, but I just posted it. I wasn't really thinking.
Did you post any other videos that night?
I do not recall. I do not believe so.
So we're going to get to a small redirect where we're going to clarify a few things. The state is going to clarify a few things that the defense brought up.
Counsel asked you why you videoed that fight that night. I mean, do you do a lot of videoing on Snapchat?
Yes, sir.
Why do you do that?
I'm not too sure why.
I mean, do you randomly video things?
Yes, sir. Me and my friends always take videos like when we're doing anything really.
Is that the whole purpose of Snapchat? What's the purpose of Snapchat? Why do you have it?
Snapchat is to send pictures and or videos to friends, or you could create a story, which I explained before.
And is it common for you and your friends to just whip your phone out and start videoing things or taking pictures?
Yes, sir.
And is it common for you and your friends on Snapchat? Well, withdrawn. Do you use any other social media apps?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it common for you and your friends to use social media apps such as Snapchat to video things and post them to your Snapchat account?
Yes, sir.
Have you done that before?
Yes, sir.
And when you've done that before, did you do it just kind of not thinking about it? You video something and you just post it for the sake of posting it?
Yes, sir.
And why do you do that?
Really just catch memories, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really about it.
So when you videoed this fight on May 14th of 2022, was it kind of one of those impulsive things that you did?
Yes.
And when you posted it, is that one of those impulsive things when you posted? I guess you said you hit a button or something and it posted right away?
Yeah, I do not recall exactly, but there is a button on the main screen where if you hit it, it immediately will post.
Is that something that you've done in the past?
Yes, sir.
Is that something that you've done in the past when you kind of can do it without looking at the screen? Or do you have to kind of watch what you're doing and then hit something real quick?
You have to kind of look at it, but if you click add to story, it will add to your.
So yeah, he's still going back and forth on, why'd you post it? I think it was, hey, look what's going on. Holy crap, there's a big fight breaking out. I don't know how this really ties into the defense, but if he's making the argument, obviously the state has to come back and figure out how to make that look less negative. I just think these are teens and they post everything. And they all have like private friends groups on there. I don't think this really goes to any kind of like intent to do anything or to show it off, so to speak. But maybe it was like, hey, look what we did. We beat these kids up. But he had to have known that someone got hurt, right? So I'm not really sure the timeline of when he posted that. Was it before he saw people bleeding on the ground? I'm sure. Because he said once he knew the severity, he was like, oh no, and he erased it. But that was pretty much all of day 2. So I want to get your thoughts. There has been a lot. I don't want you to think that I'm opposed to like being open-minded and hearing something else and changing my mind, because I will be the first one to tell you, I will change my mind. If I see something, if there's more evidence, I'm watching this trial like everybody else. Right now, the 13th juror, I wouldn't be allowed to talk to any of my fellow jury members, but I would be thinking this doesn't fit into self-defense the way that I know it. But jurors don't know exactly everything that the law, encompasses at this point. And I'm sure that's going to be shown to them, because when we finally hear what the theory of the defense is, because remember, no opening statements, we really don't know what they're arguing. We can kind of make sense of some of what he's saying. But yes, at this point, I'm on the side of the state showing more that it's not self-defense, but I have to listen to everything. This is just the state's case. I always tell you guys, so now I have to take my own medicine. We have to wait until we hear the defense's case. We haven't heard it yet. How do I know somebody didn't say anything to him? Not that words are going to make it self-defense, because they're just words. But we have to hear it. Let's see what else we have in here. Lacey said, I am so glad I was a teenager before social media. Pretty crazy. I do want to say I'm going to wrap it up early tonight. It's actually not early because we're going 2 hours and 28 minutes, but I really am glad you all are here. This was kind of a longer day. I feel like there was a lot of witnesses, a lot to get through. So that's why it was a little longer. I like doing these recaps. I'm so glad you're here with me. I think it's better than watching, 6-7 hours of testimony. I try to pull out parts that are not redundant, parts we can learn from. And I will continue doing that until we get through this trial. But always, if you're on the replay, leave your comments and I will get to them as soon as I can. Thank you all so very much for being here. I will see you very soon. possibly tomorrow. Bye.